So for today, we're going to be covering two topics. We're going to be going into the art of alchemy, just to give you a little bit of the origins of alchemy and how it works and what's all in it. It's a pretty complex subject, but with the information that we're going to give today, hopefully it makes it simple for you. Well, not simple, but
easy to be able to use it in everyday life, because sometimes these information we get it the first time and it's like, oh shoot, it's so damn complicated, I'm just not even gonna worry with this thing because I don't even know how to use it.
Right.
So we're going to try to put it in a form where we can actually use it in our everyday lives. And sometimes we do this already, but we just don't do it on a conscious level.
Right. So we're just bringing it to your awareness so that you can use it to your best benefit.
And again, you guys know all this stuff already. We just here reminding. We just reminders.
Yeah. We're just holding space for y'all.
Yeah. Sparking that flame.
So we're just like I said, we're going to go through and do like a quick recap. We're actually just going to run through the slides from beginning up until today. And so we're going to go through it quick, kind of fast. So if anybody has any questions along the way, we just ask that you respect the time and try to keep it in a window of between 2 to 5 minutes so that way we can go on to day 3 material, okay? All right, so going into the first one, okay? So when we look into the first one, we're talking about self-mastery, and self-mastery is pretty much a gift, all right? And when it comes to self-mastery, it's pretty simple. Either you can stay on track or you go off track, okay? But when it comes to self-mastery, there are some things that hinder us from achieving self-mastery. You want to touch on those real quick, man?
Yep, really simple. The sensual desires, ill will or aversion, dullness or heaviness, restlessness, or skeptical doubt. The last one is one that really gets 99.9% of the population.
Yes. And when we talk about sensual desires, we're talking about pretty much your 5 senses. You can be on a goal to achieving something, let's just say weight loss, but along your journey, you see your favorite restaurant, you just have to go in, and if you indulge, you're going to get off track. So it can be tied to a couple of different things as far as emotions and things of that nature, but these are desires. I mean, they're not good or bad desires, but if they're taking you off your track of achieving whatever goal you're trying to achieve, then there's something you have to take a look into.
Right. If either of those go out of balance.
All right. And you want to do the ill will?
Yeah, the ill will. Yeah, this is just negative emotions, negative belief systems, directed towards individual things or situations. This is just your emotions, not really having your emotions in balance. And so when you think of self-mastery, you want to think of yourself being in balance and in alignment to get to the next phase or the next level of your own growth and evolution on a spiritual and physical level. So most of these is just detailed ways of telling you to kind of bring it to the spotlight so that you can be aware of it when you're actually doing it, to let you know to bring yourself back into alignment. So this is just one of it with the emotions.
Yes. And the next one is dullness or heaviness, and this is just flat out being lazy, or just being non-motivated or in a depression. Because, whenever you're in something like that, something that's time sensitive that you need to get done, you definitely can't be lazy. And if you're depressed, you're all in your emotions, just wallowing in it. It can hinder you from achieving whatever your goals for self-mastery or mastering anything in that matter.
Or feeling trapped. And then the restlessness, this is the monkey mind pretty much. Thoughts everywhere. You really can't get it into focus.
And then the skeptical doubt. These are the questions that we always ask ourselves, like, can I do this? What if this? What if that? And do I know how to do this? Or who am I to do this, and things of that nature? These types of questions can hold us back from achieving our goals. All right. And one of the one of the techniques for recognizing and understanding these hindrances is a technique that we called, it actually came from a monk. I can't remember his name
saw
at the time.
him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He
Let
said,
it rain.
let it rain, which is you recognize, you accept, you investigate, and then you non-identify.
Right. Knowing that your circumstances, your situations, your emotions, it's not you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the first step, you recognize whatever hindrance that you're experiencing at that time, and keeping in mind that this whole process requires you to be present.
Yeah.
You really have to be out of the fight or flight mode, because when you're in the fight or flight mode, that logical mind can't stop and do this process. So you really have to get to a point of calming down. And then the next one,
Accept. So you just got to embrace everything. The stuff you like, the stuff you don't like. It's going to take, you have to be really authentic with yourself to be able to even start this process. So you just have to really like, oh, shoot, you know what? Hey, it is what it is. And at that point, you embrace it, you accept it in its fullness, whatever it is.
Yep. And then next, you investigate. This is when you really get into that shadow work and you figure out where did this hindrance come from, because they're rooted in something. So you have to figure out what it is, when it happened, where it happened, who did it, and why.
Right.
You know? And then last but not least, this is the one that's most important. This is a part of really letting go, is understanding that you are not the body, you are not the mind, and you are not your emotions.
Yes, these are tools that we all have here to navigate this realm of existence so that we can have our experience in its fullness. So when we start identifying with the body, the mind, and emotions, that's why we get confused.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why things don't start to, it doesn't make sense to us, because it's like identifying with your hammer. Like, you know, this hammer is me. No, the hammer is used for something specific. Mm-hmm. So once you come into that understanding that these things are not me, they're my tools, and then you put yourself in the alignment, in a balanced state, body, mind, and emotions, then you can be able to use these tools like how you're supposed to and have a better experience.
Yep. And some of those tools, as far as understanding, is where we went into the 7 subtle bodies. If you're not familiar with the 7 subtle bodies, this is something you definitely want to dive deep into.
Yes.
And the 7 subtle bodies are also tied into the 7 chakras.
Yes, and this is literally, because I know that this is a big thing in the spiritual community where you hear it all the time. I am a spirit. I'm a spiritual being, and I'm having a human experience. Well, this is what it means. And, you know, in a nutshell, this is what it means. It means that you're a multidimensional being, and you're having a human experience. So again, your body is a tool, and you have the ability to dimension travel. You know, go into different worlds. So this is exactly what it means. Your electromagnetic field around you, each field vibrates at a different level. The further out you go, the higher and faster the frequency is. So it's able to tap into different worlds and different dimensions. It's just a matter of getting your energy points and pools in alignment so that you can do it on a conscious level. And that's the whole point of life, is to being able to, you know, connect the divine within and master it.
Yep. And so with that first level, which is the etheric body, which is connected to your root chakra, this field actually sits right outside of your body, about 1 to 2 inches outside of your body. And this actually holds a lot of the information as far as your physical body, your health, and things of that nature.
Yeah, you can. This is how shamans can look at you and tell if you're sick or if you're well or what's going on.
All right. And then we'll look into the emotional body, which is about 1 to 3 inches outside of your body. Now, this is where your emotions lie.
Right. And impacts, like, you know, highly sensitive individuals, this is what they pick up on. This is what they say, oh my God, you're draining my energy. Oh my God, I can't hear vibration. This is what, if you're highly sensitive, this is the one of the bodies that you're able to pick up on, because this one stems 1 to 3 inches away from the body.
Yes.
So that's what you're feeling. When you tell somebody, I just don't like your vibe, you're feeling the emotional body.
Right. All right. And then the next one is the mental body, which is tied into your 3rd chakra, which is also your sacral chakra. And this one actually houses your ideas and your thoughts. And like I said on the first day that we did this, before I started this process, I always thought that my thoughts were actually inside of my head. But just when I got the understanding of the 7 subtle bodies and looking at the mental body, now you can see that these thoughts are actually external from you.
Yeah.
And it's the part of the reason why you can have an idea for a great invention, but if you don't take that leap of faith and actually go out there and make it, somebody else is going to get that same thought. Yep. So it's not something that originated inside of you. It's actually out in that mental body.
Right. It's just a matter of who is able to really jump on it, because the universe likes speed.
Yes. yes. And we're actually going to touch on that in just a little bit. And the next one is the astral body. Now, this is this is the body that we actually use to actually go to different dimensions. This is the body that actually bridges the physical world to the spiritual world.
Yep.
Okay. And then the next one is the etheric template body. You want to go on that one?
Yeah, we're just going to brush through it real quick. This one, it's further out. Again, the further out you go, the higher it vibrates. So this is why I can get into these different dimensions, because it's at a higher frequency. Our body, our physical body, is at a very dense and low frequency, just so you can have this experience. So this one, the etheric template body, this is like advanced healers. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, this is where advanced healers and things of that nature actually can. Now this is where also, hold on, make sure I'm not jumping ahead. But this is the part where, like my baby was talking about, where healers actually come through and they actually assist.
Right.
Because
because my daughter just came in. Sorry. Now, keep in mind, when you go to a healer, right? When you think of a healer, you think that they're the ones that's healing you. They're not the ones that's doing the healing. You're the one that's doing the healing, because you have all of these things for yourself already. They form as a catalyst, okay? And so they form as a catalyst through the etheric template. And so they just activate your own healing so that you can heal yourself. So a lot of people get this confused. They're like, well, okay, they healed me. No, you healed yourself. They were just there as a bridge to help you to actually get that process done.
Yeah, because if you remember, the first subtle body was the etheric body, which houses your physical body and your health.
Right.
So through this through the etheric template body, you can use that field to heal yourself.
You don't really need a shaman, but in some people, they need that little extra lift. That's all that it means.
Yes. And Teresa, did you have a question? I see you got your hand up. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I accidentally did that because I couldn't figure out how to put my mic on.
It's okay, Teresa.
But I figured it out now.
It's all love.
All red.
All right. And then going on to the celestial body.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, this is the one where you can actually communicate with the spirit world. This is where the communication comes in. And this is also where the unconditional love lies.
Yes.
Because so many people are looking for love, and they look for it externally, and it actually is external outside of you. It's just a few feet in front of you. It's just a matter of really opening yourself up, lifting yourself to a higher vibration so that you can access this celestial body and get access to that unconditional love.
And if you want to test it out, you can test it out, because whenever you go around someone like a shaman, or somebody who's on a Buddhist monk, and you go around them, you could feel like their frequency is different. Like my shaman, Atia Lee, her frequency is off the chains. Like I don't even I never met her in person, but just her voice just her voice alone, when I listen to her voice, it literally lifts my spirit. So
Yes.
You could tell the frequencies and you can feel the frequencies.
Yep. And on to the last body, which is the causal body or the etheric body. This is the seventh and final layer. And if you look at the diagram here, you can see that you are more than just your body.
Way more.
And your spirit and the things that actually hold you together are way bigger than you. And you're just inside of the shell. It's like the Chinese doll type thing where you got the small one inside of the big one, inside of the other big one.
Right.
That's how it really is. And one other thing that I wanted to mention on this as well, which is something I mentioned on the first day, which is now I can understand a little bit more why this whole social distancing thing is going on. And it's just a small part of it. Just a small part.
Just a tiny part. Yeah.
We're not going to go into it, but if you think about it, for those individuals who have really tapped in, and there's a lot of them that's out here in the world right now,
yep.
They're vibrating at such a high frequency that if they actually get close to somebody, they don't have to say anything. Mm-hmm. Just their vibration alone will lift somebody else's vibration.
It's going to change some shit, and it's going to mess with the agenda. Mm-hmm. So that's what that purpose is serving.
Yeah.
Now, this also, a lot of people think that their spirit is inside of their body. It's the complete opposite. The complete opposite. You see, your etheric body, your mm-hmm. template, it's outside of you. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to access different things. That's why it's outside of you. It's like an egg, as within, so without. We'll go into the 12 laws in a minute. But just like Mother Earth, we have cells on the planet, just like we have cells on the inside. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter, when you bring these things into your awareness, you're able to have a purposeful life, because then you understand the interconnectedness of things.
Yes. Now on to the next section that we went into, which is about changing the belief systems.
Oh, this is a big one.
Okay. Hopefully we can move through this one, but we may get a little stuck because there's some things that just have to be said. But first you have to break down the meaning of these words. If you don't have an etymology dictionary, you can go to etymology.com, if I'm not mistaken. It's free online, and you can actually type in the words to actually find out the origins of words. And I will recommend even looking up the simplest of words, because they actually have different meanings than you can really imagine. But when you look into the word belief, as you can see here is on the screen, it pretty much originated from saying that it's the confidence,
repose in a personal thing, faith in a religion. So pretty much, just to sum it up, it's really a set of principles or tenets which together form a basis of a religion, philosophy, mm-hmm. or moral code, like something that you hold dear to you.
Yes.
That's just to break it down, so we can get into the whole belief system, so you can see how this is literally running your whole entire life.
Right. Now, these belief systems come out of core beliefs. And these core beliefs are just things that dictate your faith. They dictate your emotions, your behaviors, and they also dictate how you identify yourself, talking about the ego.
Yep.
All right. And just as an example, we're just taking one particular thought as a core belief, yep. which is that I have to be right.
Okay. And this is just a core belief. You don't know where it came from. Sometimes we're not even aware of these core beliefs. That's why we call them core beliefs, because mm-hmm. they're in our subconscious. We're not going to say, oh, this is my core belief. No, you just, the only thing that you know is that you act upon these beliefs. You don't know that it's a belief.
Yes. And just piggybacking off of these celestial bodies, as far as the emotional body, mm-hmm. understanding that these thoughts are outside of you, and just like clouds, they come by and they come through your field. Mm-hmm. Not all of these thoughts deserve your attention, and you can see why in just a second. Yeah. Because when you have the core belief that I'm right, you see these different scenarios that's right around here in this circle, and this belief that I'm right comes from one thing, which if you see in the light blue, where it says that I have to be right because I am right. Or you have to be right because if I'm wrong, I'm stupid. I have to be right because if I'm not, then I hate to be stupid.
Right.
You know, so you have all of these different beliefs that stem out of the core belief. And you have to look at which perception, which eyes, or which lenses are you looking through.
Right. And it might not be this exact thing. You might have a different core belief that's embedded in the subconscious. This is just an example of one of so many.
Yeah, and once again, giving a shout out to Gary Vann. He is one of the most prominent people who have actually gone through and helping people and breaking down the belief systems. This is part of some things that we went through and research that helped us, so we wanted to share that information as well. Now, when you look at these core beliefs, you can see the type of emotions or the feelings that stem from this, because just the belief that that I am right, that comes from pride. And then when you look into the one that says I hate to be stupid, that's self-hate.
Right.
Okay. And then you have the one that says if I am stupid, I'm worthless.
Right.
So you have all of these different perspectives, which are also fragments of yourself that are giving you, that are telling you a different story.
Right. And it's just from that one core. And this is how you can have see different manifestations in your life. But it's coming from that one thing. And so many times if we can go and we can dissolve or we can heal that one thing, all those different fragments, it will kind of dissolve and take care of itself.
And as you can see here from this diagram, just out of this core belief, we get our certain identities. Once again, when you look at the pride, is you can see you're happy, you got pride for yourself. Or then you have the one that says, oh, I'm worthless, where you have this worthless character part of you. And this is just, once again, taking, like, just imagine if you were inside of that circle, and the only thing that you can see, like when you turn, you see one of these feelings of pride, fear, self-hate. But if you're able to actually come outside of that circle and see all of these different aspects of yourself, then you can kick in that logical mind and say, is that really what's going on?
And then you can realize this is not even me. Like, this is just stuff that I formulated for myself from this one belief that I had to protect myself.
Right.
But it takes a very sincere level of authenticity within self. And that is not always easy to attain.
No.
I mean, it sounds easy because, you just reading it off the screen. So it sounds like an easy thing, but it is not always an easy thing to go inside and, admit to these things for your own self. We are humans.
Yeah.
So you really have to put yourself in a different frame of mind to even step outside and become the observer, which is what we are. We are the observer.
Right. And with this one section, if you all saw towards the bottom of the little diagram, there was a question mark there because there are actually some times when this method doesn't work.
Yeah. And
this method doesn't work because there's some type of trauma that has pretty much broken you physically. And we're talking about like nervous type systems. This is the type of trauma that if somebody was in an abusive relationship and if somebody just raised their hand too fast, they jerking like you about to him, like, what's wrong with you? Like, oh, I'm sorry.
And then you kind of like get it causes a flashback. And that's only because our emotions is stored in the our etheric body. And the thing with the etheric body, it doesn't know time. Time does not exist in that dimension, right? Where the etheric body vibrates to. And so because time does not exist, it feels like real time. So this is how you can get stuck in traumatic events because it's attached to that etheric body. So you can, like, let's say you have a car accident or you got hurt, rape, whatever the situation is.
PTSD.
PTSD, that's what it is. PTSD is stored in the etheric body. So when you see something that reminds you or triggers you, shoot, that shit is happening all over again because it knows no time. And so at that point, it's now in the nervous system. It's on a physical level. So for some people, they're not able to do that work, and it fixes it, you know?
Yeah.
So they have different techniques that they will have to go through.
Yes. Now, when we talk about this, these physical pains, you can actually self-diagnose in this situation, because if you know if it's something that's not that you can see that's going on, but you got this kind of pain in your body, you don't know where it's coming from, this is something else to look into. Because, for example, if you're having pain in your neck, that's a part of you that's refusing to see the other side of the question. It's a lot of stubbornness, a lot of inflexibility. When you have it in your shoulders, you can see how that represents carrying jealousy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you look into the spine, and quick story for those who weren't here on the first day, about a year ago, I had this major pain in my hips and in my legs. And at one point, it became really painful just for me to walk around.
It was pitiful.
And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I couldn't explain it. But one individual, I can't remember who pointed this out to us, they actually pointed out that if you're having physical pain in your body and you can't readily identify where it's coming from, then look into the spiritual side of it.
I think it was Siobhan.
It was Siobhan? Oh, yeah, Siobhan.
Siobhan.
Yeah. And I was having a lot of pain in my lower back, okay? And if you look at the lower back, it was a fear of money and a lack of financial support. And at that time, I had just recently left Wells Fargo, saying that I'm going to do this spiritual thing full time, and didn't know how the hell I was going to make money doing it.
You look crazy.
So, but I'm going to step back real quick. And if you all just type in the title to this chart, you can readily find it on Google, and you can download it for yourself. So that if you ever feel any type of pain in your body, you don't have any idea where it's coming from, just take a look at this and look into it on a spiritual sense and see if that's not the case.
Right.
All right. But when it comes to this traumatic experience, just to define for you why it's so difficult and why sometimes you have to seek professional help with somebody who's trained in EMDR, is because the way that our memories are structured, if you all are familiar with this, the movie Inside Out, okay, whenever the girl had a memory that was stored, it came nicely packed in a ball, and we got somebody with their hands up.
I think that's got us.
Okay. Oh, y'all had a question, Sherry?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay. What's your question?
We missed the first day. Is there any way that I can get these slides to look more into the letter slide?
We're gonna send it to you via email.
Yeah, we'll send it to you via email. You get the whole video, because in that video, it was about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we dove pretty deeply into it, so we can send the video to you.
Yeah, we just do like a little refresher, just so you guys can catch up to where we at the sexual alchemy, so you can see how it all ties in and how it all makes sense, so that we just don't jump in, because you'll miss like a big portion of it.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No problem. All right. But when it comes to memories, once again, if you know about the movie Inside Out, you know how whenever the girl had a memory, it was tied to an emotion and it had a color, and that ball came through and it was all typed together nice and neat.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way that our brain normally stores memories, whether they're good or bad. But when it comes to a traumatic event, just imagine one of those balls dropping and breaking,
going everywhere,
shattering in pieces. So now you got a little bit of information about it here, you got a little bit of information over there, but there's some other little splinters that's just scattered throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you don't have the full story, so that you can really think it through.
Right. And this is just the way, see, the brain, the body is so intelligent, the body is so smart, and the body just always wants to help us. So this is a form of protection. This is what the body does to protect us when it comes to trauma. So you don't have to kind of keep reliving it. It's going to put a piece here. It's going to put a piece there. It's going to put a piece over here. And this is what we this is what we would say triggers are.
Yes.
So
yes.
triggers would be something highlighting the aspect that's over there, something that reminds you of that. And then something else come up totally different, but it reminds you of that event. So with this EMDR, right, what it does is it takes all those little pieces. It's like you're getting a broom.
It's a mess.
The broom comes in and sweeps all those pieces together, get the whole story, gather it together, and then you heal that. You heal it. And you it's kind of like changing the whole story around and telling it a different story within the subconscious. So when you revisit the subconscious, you don't have those triggers anymore. You're going to notice that the triggers don't work anymore. Okay, because you made it whole and you healed it.
Right.
And it's not like you're forgetting about it. No, you're accepting it. It's like an acceptance that comes in. So those trigger buttons no longer work.
Yep. There you go. So that was day one.
That was just day one.
And you could probably see why it took us 2 hours to go through that. But yeah, that was pretty intense that day.
It was.
And then for the second day is where we went into the 12 natural laws, the chakras. We did a quick review on the chakras, and then we went into the elements.
Yes, so we had a beautiful clip that we wanted to, that we actually did play, but it's a 10-minute clip. We could send you guys the clip because it explains the chakras. Oh, it's such a beautiful 10-minute video letting you know what happens when the chakras are blocked and how to unblock them, and what, you know, on a physical level, what does it look like to have a blocked chakra? And these are all things that's good for you to know, so that you, again, just bringing it from the subconscious to the conscious so you could see it when it's actually happening.
Right. And just to cover one thing real quickly, just understanding when it comes to self-mastery, you have to know how this vehicle works. Because if we understand that we're not our body, we're not our mind, we're not our emotions, we have to understand how these things work so that we can understand who the Maya is and really take control of our lives. And now, in addition to that, we go into the 12 natural laws.
Yes.
Okay. And we're just going to touch on these real briefly as we kind of rush through these.
Yeah, we're just going to skim through the 12 laws, but we're going to send a full video for you guys. And just knowing that the reason why, like my baby just mentioned, the main reason why we wanted to touch on the laws is because you got to know how to operate within the realm. Okay, so knowing the vehicle.
That's one thing.
Okay, that's
now you got to know the road.
Now you got to know the map, and the map is not the terrain either, okay? So you got to know how to navigate. So this is a map. The first one was a vehicle. Now this is a map on how you get from point A to point B, you know, in order for you to have a more expansive experience. So yeah, so we're going to go into the first one.
All right. So the first one is the law of divine one.
This is my favorite one.
And this actually, please keep this one in mind, because this one is actually going to be tied in for day 3 today, which is understanding that everything is one. Everything came from source, and it's just a fractal of source.
Right. And I gave the example like the sun. You know, the sun is one, but the sun has many different rays, but it's all coming from the same place. So you can look at all of the humans, like everybody is just fragmented aspects, rays, beautiful rays from the sun, the same thing. Yep.
And the next one is the law of vibration. And when you understand the law of vibration, you understand that everything vibrates.
Even a rock.
Even a rock
vibrates.
Because if you have a really powerful microscope, you can actually look into the inside of that rock, and I would guarantee you that you will see molecules moving on the inside of that rock.
Yep.
So everything vibrates. It's just a matter of how fast or how slow. All right.
Law of correspondence. This is the biggest one. This is the biggest one for everyone. As within, so without. As above, so below. If there's chaos on the inside, it's going to be chaos on the outside. And most people live their lives the opposite way, and so things never gets fixed. So if there's something going on the exterior, It's how you use this law is to look within. To see what's going on in here. Let me do some reconstruction. Let me do some feng shui on the inside.
Yes.
So that my outside can reflect.
Yes.
Okay, that's how you use that one.
And then the next one is the law of attraction, which is one law that has been underrepresented, or it hasn't been given the full story.
It didn't.
And I said this jokingly to my baby the other day, was that the reason why so many people are seeing 1111 all the time is that because they're forgetting the other 11 universal laws that go with this law of attraction.
So the universe is trying to say, hello.
You got to remember the other 11.
You got 11 more.
But with the law of attraction, it's pretty much saying that you will attract whatever your vibrational match to.
Right. And this is not something that's good. This is not something that's bad. It just is.
Right. And we purposely put the image of the magnets on here to make a point on something, because if you look at the magnets, you have one that has a north pole and one that has a south pole. And it looks like opposites attract, but that's not exactly what's going on, because you have to look into a little bit further and understand torus fields, okay? Because when you look into a torus field, which we are a torus field, we have a negative pole and we have a south pole. And that north pole, that's where information is coming in. That's where the attraction is coming into. And then the south pole is coming out. So if you really think about it, that south pole is pushing stuff out and that north side is pulling stuff in. So that's how that attracts. Okay. And then the next one,
the law of inspired action.
So you got to get up and do it.
Yes, this is when you just got to get up and do it. When that inspiration comes in, act upon it. Again, the universe loves speed. If you don't act upon it, somebody else will. Just because of the thoughts, understanding that thoughts are like clouds, right? So I'm just read this really quickly. Inspired action is all getting inspired first and taking action from a place of alignment. So when you're taking this action, you got to be coming from a place of alignment. If you're out of alignment, it might not go like how you want it to go, because back to the previous law, you're really going to get what you are, not what you want. So it's about knowing that divine inspiration will strike, then acting on that inspiration quickly once it happens. When people talk about creativity, they often talking about this kind of action. So just get to it.
Yeah, you got to get into it. The next one is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Okay, this is understanding that everything goes in, everything goes out. Okay, and this is also tied into the next one, which we're about to get into, which is cause and effect. But one thing to keep in mind, because most of us know about these balls here, if you let one go, the other one goes.
Right.
So what happens is that whatever, in terms of your emotion, if you're experiencing something like real high energy types of love and emotion, you're just all euphoric. For those who are familiar with the twin flame journey, we call it the bubble love phase. Okay. What's going to happen is that because of the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, that ball is going to swing to the other side, and you're going to experience the extreme opposite of that, which a lot of people end up going to the run and chaser phase. But through understanding and understanding and overstanding this law, it behooves you to really understand to be in the middle as much as possible, to be balanced, so that if something happens, it doesn't push you too much to one side or push you too much to the other side, so that way you don't experience those extreme situations.
Or if, and again, I like these laws of the 12 laws, because it brings it to the forefront, because now you can make a conscious decision. Because we're here, we want to have excitement sometimes, because I'm an excited being. So if you're the type of person who's like, well, shoot, I want some excitement, then on a conscious level, you have to be prepared. So you have to know, okay, if I swing all the way over here, then shoot, whatever. It could swing back.
Let it come.
Let it come. I want to get on this ride. Yes. So it's just a matter of just being conscious and making these decisions on a conscious level. so that when, you know, which is going to get to the next slide, when we have this happen, after we make that decision, right?
Yeah.
We have the law of cause and effect. So just keeping these things in mind, you know, like gravity, you throw that ball up, it's going to come back down unless you're in space.
Yeah.
And then those laws don't apply.
Right. Okay. And for the next one, which is the law of compensation. Now, this law of compensation includes much more than just money.
Lots more.
Because when you think about it, what is money? It is currency. What is currency? It is energy. Okay? So whenever you put something out, and once again, just remembering this law, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, whatever you put out is what you're going to get back. Okay? And so there should always be an equal exchange of energy. Okay? So just keeping that in mind. Oh, wow. Why my mouse going crazy?
Okay. Law of relativity.
All right. There you go.
This is a good one. And again, this is my favorite book. And I always tell everyone I think everyone on the planet should read this book. As a Man Thinketh, So Is He, by James Allen. It's free on YouTube. I always tell everyone, if you can't wait for it to come in the mail, go on YouTube. You type it in. You can listen to it. It's like an hour and 40 minutes long. I only know because I probably listened to it about 100 times. Very, very inspirational book.
We got a hand here. What's going on, Sherry?
Oh, it's Marcus. It's time again.
Marcus,
I'm
okay.
sorry. We missed that day too. But back to your last slide, as far as compensation and equal change, how is it determined if it's an equal exchange? And
Okay,
that's a beautiful thing.
That's a very good question. So keep in mind, these are not man-made laws. These are universal laws, right?
Correct.
And so this is just natural things that occur that we just have to be aware of. So when you talk about the law of compensation, my shaman had broke it down to me. She really explained it in a beautiful way, because for a while when we were doing these sessions and stuff, we had a hard time like charging and stuff like that. We just wanted to go out there and save the world, and you know, we didn't care. But then we realized that we had rent to pay. We were like, oh, shoot. How are we going to pay our bills and save the world at the same time?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
so basically it just gets into a balance still. It gets into balance.
Right. But how it works with the universe is like this, right? So just going to give you a quick example. So let's say you have, you do healing. I'm just going to use that as an example. You're into the business of healing. Somebody comes to you, they need to be healed or whatever have you, or they need that catalyst to help them to get better. This person is a millionaire, right? And they just feel like, I'll just give you $2, you know, whatever, I'm just going to give you $2. But they're a millionaire. They have the capacity to give that natural exchange that will help that lady to pay her rent or to sustain her, right? They have the ability to do it, but they don't want to. So again, it goes back to the vibration part of it. So all these laws, they work together. They're really not separate. We just breaking it down separate to understand how everything works and how it intertwines with each other.
Right.
They're all basically small pieces of a big pie.
Exactly. So because the millionaire now just wants to be like, I'm just going to give you this $2, just heal me and get it over with. It's not that she don't want to do it. This is just how she is. You know, she wants to help. But because of the law of compensation and the energy exchange that takes place, he's probably not going to get the activation, the full force of the activation that needs to take place. And again, it has nothing to do with her. She wants to do it. But, you know, these laws are in place for a reason to keep us in balance.
Right.
Now, let's use another example. Another person comes to her for healing, for her to be that catalyst. They are dead broke. They have no money, and they just can't do any better. But their payment, the exchange, the currency is going to be in gratitude. She will be able to perform that with the universe through the law of compensation, because they're giving out so much gratitude within that energy, within that Taurus field, that she will be able to receive her full healing. See how that works?
So basically, it's not a definite way to determine what good compensation to be. It's more of a feeling.
Well, it's
if you had to put it like this, when you say that somebody is responsible,
Right.
That means that they have the capability to respond.
Right.
Okay. Now, for the millionaire, he has the capability to probably give her $2 million for that one healing. But if he only gives her $20, he's not using his full capabilities to respond.
Right.
So it's a matter of you being able to use your full capabilities to respond.
And going back with, you know, whatever you put out is what you're going to get back.
Right.
Right. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just what it is.
Yeah, it's all relative. Yep, you're right, Ash. Yes. All right. So yeah, whatever you put out was once again, which one is that? Law of attraction.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you put out is what you're gonna get back.
Right. And then the universe is always going to set balance in any event, with or without our permission.
Yeah. So it's just understanding that these laws, even though they're separate, we go back to the first law, which is everything is one.
Right. The oneness
Okay?
of it all.
Everything is one. Even though these are 12 laws broken up,
Right.
they're all one.
They work together.
But does that answer your question on that for right now?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Awesome. All right. And then going into the next one, which is the law of polarity.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this one pretty much says that for everything that has an opposite, it has an extreme opposite. And there's no better way to explain this than looking at a battery.
That's just a perfect example.
And that's why we put this one in here. Because in order for a battery, for you to enjoy it, it has to have a negative side and it has to have a positive side.
Right.
In order for that energy to work, to make your remote work, to turn on your computer, to turn on your phone. Because if it's not there and both sides are not full, then you're not able to experience the full benefits of whatever it's bringing to you.
Right. And just keeping that in mind in our everyday life. Like you can't, you have to really integrate. This is pretty much what this is really understanding about the integration and knowing that if you put if you just use the positive side on a battery to try to use your remote, you're not getting any power. So if you really want to ignite yourself, you got to integrate with the negative, which is the lower nature, and the higher nature within self, and understand this is how this universe works also. Yes.
And then into the next one, which is the law of rhythm. This is understanding that everything has a cycle.
And a season, everything.
Everything has a season, everything has a pattern. And you have to understand those patterns. It's kind of like playing double dutch. You know that rope goes around at a certain point, but at some point you have the perfect entry point for you to jump in, for you to experience. And so, like for a lot of us, we have a lot of patterns. And if we're looking for like success financially, we can look back at the past and think about, okay, when was I most successful? When was I bringing in the most money? And for most melanated people, it's usually right around spring, summertime.
I am so done with you right now. I'm so done. I'm not messing with you.
But I'm just using that as an example. But if you look back into your past, you can recognize things that serve to your benefit, and then you can also use it on the flip side and think, well, around this time of the year, you know, my daddy or my mama passed, and I'm usually not feeling that well. And so these are ways of finding out patterns.
And again, as within, so without, as above, so below. Mother Nature has seasons, and we have seasons. It's just a matter of recognizing our own seasons so that we can know that we don't need to plant no seeds in the winter time.
No.
So we'll know when to do our planting, and we'll know when to do our harvesting by finding out what our rhythm is, because we all have our own rhythm. We just have to find it out.
Yep. And then for the next one, yes, he raised his head again. What's going on, family?
What's up, family? What's up?
I asked a lot of questions.
Go on, family.
Speaking on the law of rhythm, and everything is a dealing with things in a negative aspect. can those patterns be broken? What are ways that we can break those negative patterns
Yeah, that's
in
what
order
we
Yeah.
did.
to start new patterns?
Right, and that's what the previous lesson was about. Don't worry,
The
bro.
belief systems.
We got you. We're gonna send you that whole clip.
Okay.
And we broke down, we gave you ways in how you can actually go in and how you can dismantle those core beliefs that's keeping you in those loops, because it's the core beliefs that's keeping you in the loops. And so, and because it's not, it's in the subconscious, it's in the unconscious mind. So you're not going to know it's there. The only thing that you're going to be aware of sometimes, if you really try to do some introspection, is the fear, the anger, whatever the core belief is emitting at the time. That's what you're going to see. But it's going to take some deeper digging to go in and see the core.
Yeah.
As to, what is it emitting? Like, once you dismantle the core belief system and you collect those fragments and you put it to rest, you literally change the story in your subconscious. So the next time the triggers come up, the buttons is not going to work. And this is how you get out of those loops. Because those loops are controlled by triggers.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, once you all get those first and second videos, if you actually package that together with the shadow work webinar that we have posted on YouTube,
that's perfect.
When you use that together, you can really get in and break some loops, some loops that are not serving you, some patterns that are not serving you. When you couple that together, it is truly transformational.
It is. You can tell them bye, Felicia.
Yep.
Don't forget to thank the lessons, because that's a way of releasing it with love by keeping the appreciation for what the lesson brought you.
So in doing all this, a lot of the times, I hear people talk about triggers and how they affect them. There are ways to break those triggers, correct?
Yes.
And if you have those triggers and you allow them to continue to affect you, does that mean you have further shadow work to do, or is it more?
Well, that could be like what we had talked about with when it gets into your nerves, your nervous system.
Yeah.
When it hits you depending on how deep
it is,
the trauma is, depending on how deep whatever it was, the experience was, it can literally, and depending on how long, right? It could literally be in a physical form. It can take physical shape, So it might need to do a little bit of they call it somatic experiencing, or you can do the EMDR, and that would help to physically move the energy out of the body, because again, it's emotion, so it's energy in motion, and sometimes it gets trapped. Depending on what type of energy it is, it stores in different parts of our body. So you have certain energies just like certain places in our body. It's just how it is.
Yeah. And actually, just to drive this home a little bit more, now understanding a little bit more about the 7 subtle bodies and understanding that etheric template body is the one that's accessing into your healing. Now, if you don't know how to readily do that yourself, now having an understanding that if you go to a Reiki master that's really good and doing it and what they're supposed to do, and you definitely understand the law of compensation, you understand that you want to make sure that you respond to the best of your capabilities of receiving that service, whether it's payment or if it's in gratitude. Then
it gets into the law of compensation, basically.
Right. Keeping all those things in line. That's how you operate in this matrix. Keep all of them in mind, right? Keep all of them in the forefront, and you operate knowing and acknowledging these this is just gravity. Like how come we understand gravity and we don't mess with gravity? We don't play with gravity. If you see a cliff, this is how people should really live with these laws, just like how we live with gravity. If you are at a 50-foot cliff and you walk to the edge of that cliff, right? How come you don't go past the edge? Nobody would ever go past the edge. Guess why? Because they understand the law of gravity, and they work with it every single day. It's like nobody have to tell you to work with the law of gravity. So these are the same laws. It's the same thing. So if we are able to bring them into our everyday life, just like how we accepted gravity, I mean, we would have a more fulfilling experience with this realm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So once you couple all of those laws together and you get together with that Reiki master and they go through and you allow them to access that etheric template so that it can really heal you, then you can really get some breakthroughs.
Yeah, get them energies moving, because sometimes they get trapped and they get stuck.
Yep.
So in most cases, dealing with triggers and such, it's not something that an individual can work on themselves. They need someone to
Sometimes, not in all cases. Some people,
depending on the trigger and how deep the trigger is.
Right, and depending on the person also. So it all depends. Some people are able to heal themselves. Some people don't need anybody to help them, no matter how deep the trauma is. But some people, they might have a little scratch, and but they need somebody to assist them. So it all depends on the person and what type of life experience they have,
Right.
So what may work for my wife may not work for me.
Precisely.
Yeah. There's no blueprint to this. Like there's no.
Well, I mean, the only reason I say that because a lot of times,
you got it. Yeah.
I mean, the reason I say
that
that
might work for you might not necessarily work for her.
Right.
Yeah, the reason I say that because a lot of times in a lot of situations, depending on who you're speaking with, they try to use the same techniques that they use on the next person, and we're not all the same.
No,
it's not one size fit all.
Nah, sorry, bro. Not in the spiritual life.
Correct.
We all got different things.
Okay. I mean, it's just something it's something I knew, but it's something I just wanted to hear. Aloud.
Following that intuition.
Because, like I said, a lot of right, because just examples like some people triggers may be from earlier on in life, and I may have a trigger from early on in life, but that person may not be able to work through it. They may need the help of the Reiki master, or they may need help of their shaman or whatever.
Right.
But that doesn't mean just because that's what they require to work on themselves, that's what I require to work on myself.
Not necessarily. Correct? You might or you might not, but that's not a fact that if someone has healing a certain way, you have to have it the same way. It's that if somebody tells you that, that's probably not the best route, Right. You have to do your own assessments, and you really have to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Right, because some people may use meditation to work through their problems.
Right.
And some people may confront the problems themselves, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about like if you have a job, a lot of times that route to go to your job, it may take about 30-45 minutes, but they're usually about 3 to 5 different ways
routes to get to the same place.
The same job,
but you're getting to the same destination. Some destinations may take a little bit longer, some may be a little bit shorter. Yeah. But it's just a matter of which path is best for you.
Right, which path. Some people are more comfortable taking the longer route, Some people are comfortable taking the shorter route. But I mean, as long as you're getting to the healing,
as long as you're on that journey,
journey, if you're not really bringing harm to nobody, I mean, it's nothing.
And going back to day one, as long as you can recognize those 5 hindrances that'll stop you from continuing that journey to self-healing, then you can move past that.
Move through it.
Yeah, but definitely check out that shadow work webinar and put that together with the first 2 days of this particular webinar. And once again, you'll find some tremendous breakthroughs. Yeah. But we're going to go ahead and move past this because we still got to get
I'm sorry about that.
You're fine.
Oh, no, it's all good.
It's all love.
All right. But we're going to get right into the next one, which is the law of gender.
Yes.
And with the law of gender, that's just understanding that, for one, it's not so much just tied into male and female, okay? Just understanding that there are different energies. There's a female energy and a masculine energy that's inside of all of us. Yep. And when we talk about that feminine energy, we're talking about that creative side, that
Right.
intuitive side,
Yeah.
that compassionate side.
Nurturing side.
And what about the male side, baby?
And the masculine side is that logic side, you know, that protector energy, that energy that is, you know, you want to fix stuff that, you know, so you got to really, about understanding the law of gender is to really going back to the first one, which is the law of oneness. It's really no separation.
No.
It's just really about working with those two hemispheres, because it's literally you're on a physical level, you could think of as your brain. So you have the left hemisphere and you have the right hemisphere. The left part of your brain controls the right and vice versa. So you notice how the left don't control the left and the right don't control the right. It's like that for a reason. It's letting us know that it has to be that interconnectedness of things, you know, that rising of that snake, that serpent, that kundalini energy, really getting stuff in balance, the yin and the yang, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the anima and the animus going together.
Yeah, which we're going to get into in today's manifestation, but we're going to try to push through these next ones.
Yeah.
And on the next slide, we started going into the chakras. And first, going back to the laws of understanding that as within, so without.
Yes.
Just as we have chakras, the earth has chakras as well.
Actual.
And we've actually put together, we got a big goal.
Yeah, I'm just going to get some water.
Okay, you're going to get some water. Okay, so we have a big goal ourselves, which is to visit each and every chakra that's on this planet. And so if you look at the diagram, you can see that the first chakra is actually in Mount Shasta in California. That's the root chakra. And then you have the second chakra, which is located in Lake Titicaca, which is down in, Peru, where you have a lot of people go down there for ayahuasca, and you wonder why they have all these spiritual breakthroughs, because when you add ayahuasca and you sitting there right on one of the earth chakras, you shouldn't be surprised that you get some type of breakthrough. All right. And then on to the third chakra, which is the solar plexus. That's actually located in Australia. And then for the fourth chakra, the heart chakra, that's located in Glastonbury in England. Okay. And then the fifth chakra, which is the throat chakra, which is in Egypt. So, yeah, we got a big goal ahead of us to travel around this world to see these different chakras. Now, the sixth chakra, which is the third eye chakra, that one's a little tricky. That particular chakra, depending on where the earth is rotating, is going to dictate where that third eye chakra would be.
Yep.
And I know we mentioned it in the other video.
Belize
in Belize. Belize is where the next
it's going
placement going to be for the third eye.
It's something to do with when the next age is in Capricorn.
Yes.
It'll be in Belize.
All right. And then for the seventh chakra, which is, this one is not too much of a shocker, because this is representing the crown chakra. This is really connecting to the universe, and it is in Tibet. So it's no wonder why these Buddhist monks are so enlightened. And you can see videos of them doing Tai Chi, and then you see that whole aura just emanate from their body.
They light fire with their bare hands. Like, they really have full control of their chi. Now, when you get to that level, that's when you just here just to probably take off, like literally. Like, you have let go of all earthly attachments. You just ready to leave. Like, I think they come back because most of these people, most of these monks, they have already mastered, all of the elements. They have already opened up all of their chakras. They've gotten to that enlightenment. And at that point in the game, you have your choice. Are you going to move on to the next level? Because there is a next level, right? You're going to go to the next level, or do you want to serve? So the reason why we have all these monks and stuff in Tibet is because I guess they made a decision to come back to serve and to really help humanity, to show them the way. So anyone, like once you get to that phase, you have your opportunity to make your choice.
Yep. And then just moving on to our chakras, which is our root chakra, our sacral chakra, your solar plexus, your heart chakra. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have dove really deeply into the chakras, as far as the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra. Now, now with this one, we actually showed the clip from
that's
from
the one,
the last Airbender.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of y'all have seen that little clip from the show on Nickelodeon where he was with his guru and helping him unblock his chakras. Understanding that when you're unblocking your chakras, you have to start with the root chakra first.
Yes, you have to. I see a lot of people trying to open up their third eye and their root chakra is all kinds of out of whack.
Right.
And this is what you can look at as someone who goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on a spiritual journey. Because of the fact that they try to push open their third eye with all of these mushrooms and using the back door to enlightenment, and none of the other chakras is in place. They block. They still struggling with the root, but they trying to open up the third eye. That's dangerous.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people do end up going cocoa for Cocoa Puffs.
They end up losing it. They lose their marbles because they didn't have much in the jar to begin with, because they're not going, because this universe, it's order. It's chaos, but it's kind of like in an order, kind of like the seasons. When it's hurricane and when it's tornadoes, it's crazy, but it's the season though.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the planet has a chaotic order. It's an order to things. And so it's a specific way you got to do things to really get the result that you're looking for.
Right. And just to tie this in real quickly, the reason why the root chakra is so important is that because the root chakra deals with your survival. Okay. We're talking about just being able to pay the bills and be able to live comfortably. If you're able to live comfortably and not have to stress so much, then you can move up through the next chakras.
Right. And then the reason why, so just to piggyback on that, when we talk about survival and live comfortably, we indirectly talking about fear. Okay, so it's not so much the fact that you can't really buy stuff, it's the fear that comes with it, the fear that's tied into it. So if you're fearful about whatever, it doesn't matter. If you have fear at the core, at your root, because you got to think of what is a root. A root is something that grounds you. A root, that's your stability.
That sends the nutrients through the trees to make the leaves come out.
Of a tree. If a tree doesn't have roots, what's going to happen to the tree? It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be on the floor. It's going to decay, and it's going to break. It's going to break. It's not going anywhere. So that's what the root represents. The fear and everything. Once we get rid of the fear, then we can move up to the next chakra and so on and so forth till we work our way up.
Yep. And if you all, once this is over, once again, you can go through and pull up that video. It's on YouTube. It's about 10 minutes. You can check it out there. But then also in the recording that we're going to be sent to you all, it has it in there as well.
Yeah, it's in the recording.
All right. And then the other thing that you have to understand when you're looking into this world, once again, we're talking about navigating this world. You have to understand ley lines.
You have to. You got to.
Okay. This is just a map here to show you where some of the ley lines are in the United States. And if you look over towards the right, let me see if I can bring my little anecdote thing in here again.
Try it again?
Yeah.
That would be better.
Gosh.
You got to do it there.
I don't know if it's going to show.
Oh, it's not showing.
But over on the bottom right corner, it shows the different levels or frequencies of these ley lines. And of course, the ones that's the most strongest is in DC. Now, we're not going to go too much into what's going on in this current situation, but if you know about the Illuminati, you know about all this other stuff, you can now see why certain government buildings are built in a certain way, why churches are placed where they're placed. That's because they know where these ley lines are, and they're utilizing those energies to manifest what they want.
Right.
And that is just what they want is having control over the population.
Yep.
But in knowing this now, you can figure out where the closest ley line is to you. And once you have gotten to the point where, like in day one, you've pretty much got yourself in balance, you understand your triggers, you understand where you're weak and where you're strong, and you embrace all of that. And then now you come into the knowledge of knowing how to work around the environment that you're in. Now that you have an understanding of the 12 universal laws, you can take this together and accompany it with knowing where those ley lines are and sending that intention through those ley lines to help intensify what you're trying to do.
And now, just as this disclaimer, I would definitely advise that you study these ley lines. If you already learned in this area, that's perfect, that's wonderful. But if there's something that's new that you're discovering, I definitely advise you to do a lot more research on these ley lines, because this is not something that's like, you know, like that. No.
This is like advanced stuff.
This is serious, because with the, and I know Teresa she knows about the ley lines, and she probably could tell you some of her experiences with the ley lines, because Teresa is super sensitive. Like, she is so sensitive. But these ley lines, you will find a lot of paranormal activities that take place on these ley lines. Specifically, it's some of them that are higher voltage than others. But this is where, think of the ley lines like this. So you have Hot 97, and you have Kiss FM, and you know, sometimes when you're turning the dial, it's a certain point within turning the dial that you can actually hear both channels playing at the same time, right? That's the ley lines. It's like a bridge between the unseen world and the physical world. So it gives you a lot of power to really move some stuff around. This is why the you know, the Illuminati, the people who's in power, the people who have a lot of say in making laws and stuff like that. This is why they work around or with the ley lines to really help to push whatever agenda that they have. And this is why they've been so successful for such a long time, because this information that we're sharing right now is not taught in schools, and it should be, because this is basic self-information of self. They don't teach it in schools. And if everyone on the planet knew about this information, how much peace will we have on this planet? Like, just think about it. How much peace will we have if everybody knew how to work with the 12 laws, if everybody knew where we came from, if everybody understood that we really don't die, it's just a transitional phase. If everyone knew these things, then we won't be afraid of death.
No.
It won't be no fear.
No, it wouldn't.
And we could know how to speak to our ancestors. When they pass and they transition on, we could know how to connect with them. We can talk to them. So we know, hey, they're just in a different phase, you know, a different realm. It's no big deal.
Oh, right. So now we're going to touch on the elements. And then once we get through the elements, then we'll be able to get into manifestation, into some esoteric knowledge that you may or may not be aware of. Okay, but when we're talking about the elements, we're not talking about just the basic four, because a lot of people talk about the basic four elements, which is fire, earth, wind, and air. But sometimes, too often, people leave spirit out. So we're going to touch on those, and what you're seeing here is actually the esoteric symbols of these elements. And I'm pretty sure you all are aware with the first four, but spirit, if you notice, and this is just to piggyback off what Leisha was just talking about, once you let go of fear and understanding that there's not death, if you understand that you are a spirit and you see this circle, you will notice that there is not a beginning and there is not an end. It constantly goes around. Okay? So that's where that is coming from, but we're going to dive a little bit into that. All right. So first and foremost, you have to understand that all of these elements are inside of you.
Yes.
And we're going to show you or give you some information to show how you would know that these elements actually already exist within you, so you don't have to externalize your power and go outside and try to find it. All right. And so for the first one, ladies go first. Oh, you got ice in your mouth? Okay.
Sorry. The first one is earth. Now, with the elements, to work with the elements, you want to, and to master, master is a good word. To master, not control, but to master the elements is to really have a understanding of, what they really are. And not only knowing what they are, but how to find it within self. And so once you can see it outside of self and you can see it inside of self, then you can really harmonize that balance. And this is what we're going to do with all of these elements, is find it outside, then first going on the inside, finding it and learning how to work with it. So with earth, when we think of earth, we think of, Mother Earth, stable, solid, nurturing. Earth is also connected to our root chakra. Okay. So, and this is how you find it on the outside. You find it in nature. So in order for you to really start to even begin mastering the element earth, you have to have done your shadow work. You have to have come completely honest with yourself. Look at your addictions, look at whatever is going on within self, and really bring it into balance before you can even come to earth. So once you've done that, then you can start building a relationship with earth. You can start maybe planting, finding some type of animal. Study the animals, like, the spirit of the animals. They got spirit animals. Study the spirit, study how to interact, within nature. And then once you've done that, so then you've understood nature on the outside. If you want to plant, plant something. Take part in planting something. Watch it grow. Take part in the fertility aspect of growing something on Mother Earth, right? If you want to study Venus, that's the planet of fertility. You can do that also. But this is just how to ground yourself with earth, how to start building a relationship with the physical aspect of earth. Right. Study the plants, the medicine that comes from the plants. So you want to understand, what does this plant do? What does rosemary do? What is this good for? Really get to harness in plants and how to use them medicinal wise and treat them with respect, because they're living things. Yes. Plants are living things, just like we're living. And we do an exchange of energy and carbon monoxide with the plants every single second of every day. Every breath that you take is because of a plant. Yes. So it's on a deep level here. Yeah. And then also understanding, and this actually applies for all of the elements, is what you can see here is that Earth has a nurturing side, and then it also has a destructive side. Facts. So once again, this goes back into the law of polarity. Everything has its extreme opposites and its extreme, it has its extreme positive and extreme negatives. And you will see it all throughout. And so just understanding as within, so without, that just like Earth has its nurturing side, you have your nurturing side. Just like Earth has its destructive side, you also have your destructive side, okay? And now to understand that Earth is already within you, which is something that we're going to get into today, because we're going to be talking about alchemy a little bit, is that salt comes from the earth, right? You can find it in the ocean. You can find it just about everywhere. But right now, if you were to lick yourself, I'm pretty sure you may taste a little bit of saltiness. Maybe if you just took a shower, you're not going to taste it. But if you lick yourself, you can find salt within you. And then the other thing of understanding earth within yourself, like we all, how can I say this? Like you can put your feet on the ground and directly connect with earth. So whenever you need an earth element for any of those who practice other things, you don't have to look outside for any elemental. It's already within you. All right. And then for the next one, which is water. Well, my baby already mentioned the characteristics of earth. But some of the characteristics of water, which once again, these are some things that you can find inside of yourself as well, because water is fluid. Water is healing. Water is pure.
And water is also a representation of our emotions.
Yep.
And just like if, and looking at our emotions, if you take a look at the pictures, you know, sometimes our emotions flow and they bring peace and harmony, just like this one on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes our emotions can be overwhelming and they can flood the streets and just destroy everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of, once again, understanding that it's inside of us and that it's outside of us. Now, if you want to really build a relationship with water, one good thing to do is in your meditations, sometimes, you know, there's a certain technique where it's just a gazing type of meditation.
Yeah.
And if you just go out and you just study water, you just look at a lake and just notice how when something comes out and it just ripples out into, like if you throw a pedal, oh, wow, this, now, I didn't say this yesterday, but this just came to mind, so I got to say it. Just imagine a pebble when you throw it into the lake, right? Imagine that pebble as a trigger, okay? When you throw that pebble into the lake, it ripples out, okay? And so just like those triggers, those emotional triggers that we have, it ripples out and it affects whatever is closest to it. So when you can look at nature and see how it represents you, then you're able to gain more control over it. You're able to really keep yourself balanced,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And so, yeah, just study water if you haven't. And one other thing is, if you don't already know how to swim, we would definitely recommend swimming, because just understanding that sometimes when you're swimming, it's really easy. You can flow through, especially if you're just starting out. But if you built up your ability to swim fast, then a lot of times swimmers have the ability to go through emotions quickly so that they don't get too stuck in one mode and not being able to move on to the next goal. Okay? And then for the next one, which is fire.
Ooh, fire. I have a really nice story for fire that I thought about today, guys. Fire. This is for my fire signs in the house. If I got any fire signs, shout out to my fire signs.
Boy, they got some fire in the background. What you talking about?
Oh, they got fire. Look at that. It's so appropriate right now. Oh my
boy.
God. Marcus, y'all got fire in the back right there? That's what's up. So that is very appropriate. You see that synchronicity? Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
So fire. All right. Fire in the house, literally. So fire. When we think of fire, right? To build a relationship with fire. Well, first, let's talk about the characteristics of fire. So we have passion, you know, acceleration, definitely transformation, purification. So you can look at that as the positive aspect of fire if you want to put something on it. Then you have the destructive side of fire, you know, and fire, when it gets out of control, it gets out of control. There's no control in that fire. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are just some of the basic characteristics of fire. And you can find fire on the inside of you also. You have that burning passion. That's fire, right? That sexual energy. That's a lot of fire. A whole lot of passion on the inside. Even if you want to think about heartburn,
yeah,
that's fire. Because when you think of the acids that's inside of our stomach, it's actually it's a transformation, right?
It's a chemical reaction.
It's a chemical reaction. So it's a breakdown. It's doing it's transforming from one phase to the next. And when we think of fire, we can think of transformation. As far as how do we see it manifest in our lives, you will see a lot of transformation taking place in your life. So you might leave one job and you're starting a new job. You know, that's a transformation energy. Anything that's ending and something that's beginning. Something is canceling out and something is being rebirthed. And that's how you can recognize that fire energy. Now take a look at this beautiful example that I got download of today. The Corona bear. That's what I call it, because I'm just trying to put a positive, you know, trying to balance out the energy that's on it, because it's just so damp and right now. So I'm just trying to lighten it up, right? So the Corona bear. Anybody, when did that Corona bear hit us in the United States? If anybody can remember, around what month, around what time did it really hit and peak and everybody had to stay so-called home?
Yeah.
If anybody could tell me what month or what sign were we in at that time? Aries, that's the fire sign. So the same time, but we have to stay home when in like the end of March to the middle, beginning, end of April.
Yeah.
So that's when that transformation came through. So it was a whole transformation that was happening on a global level.
Mm-hmm.
So the fire sign came in with the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just ways of recognizing the fire that's outside, the fire that's inside, the fire on a macro level, and the fire on a micro level.
Yes.
It's just bringing things into your awareness so you can know how to work around things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as far as building a relationship with fire, there are two things, and you could probably come up with a lot more. But one of the first ones is ask yourself, do you know how to start a fire without a lighter?
Right.
Without a match? Because if you, for our Boy Scouts in the room, or for anybody who may have been a Boy Scouts, you know, one of the things that they teach the young ones is how to start a fire. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they actually take stones and they break them together. And when you think about that in your physical life, sometimes those emotions or those heads just bash together and it's causing flames and depending on how intense that flame is, it depends on how intense the situation is going to be.
Right.
And then on another level is getting used to heat.
Yeah.
Now, if you live in the South like us, now I've gotten used to the heat. My baby ain't too much got used to the heat.
I like the heat.
You like the heat.
I'm from the Caribbean.
Yeah, from the Caribbean. But develop a relationship with heat. Like going to saunas, get used to that heat, get used to that pressure. Now, one other little trick to mastering fire, now brace yourself, but make yourself angry.
On purpose.
Like nobody else around you, just make yourself angry, like infuriated. Just scroll through Facebook or Instagram. I'm pretty sure it'll get you going.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna find something on Instagram or on Facebook.
Right.
And it's just a practice. Make sure nobody's around though, because you don't want to push that
shot on somebody else.
Right, unnecessarily. But it's just a practice. And the whole point of this, to master the element of fire, is to be able to be literally in control, be conscious. Like you have to have it on a conscious level as to when you ignite your fire within. Okay? Instead of having somebody come and say something to you, and you just went left and you can't even come back right.
Right.
So that's someone who does not have the eternal passion, the eternal fire under control. Somebody literally came to your stove and did this.
Turn it up full blast.
And they walked away. And now you all burnt up. You don't even know how to calm down. Yeah. You just hot for no reason. So by learning how to master the element of fire within, you know, build a relationship with fire outside, and then really start turning within, working on that that level of I don't even want to say control. Build a relationship with that fire element so that you can consciously turn it on and turn it off, or turn it down or turn it up when you need to. So that and this is how you take your power back, by the way. This is how you take your power back. When there is no external force that can turn your oven on for you, unless you're trying to bake something.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you would work with the element fire.
All right. And then to the next one, which is air. Okay. Now, one of the characteristics of air, which is also a characteristic of water, is that it's fluid and it's also hard to contain.
Very.
Okay. And then the other thing is that you can't see it, but you can feel it.
Yes.
Which is to make that a representation of something that's inside of us, or something that we experience, which is our thoughts. Okay. We can't see our thoughts, but we can feel them. They're fluid. They just flow in and out of our auric field. Okay. So you feel air everywhere. Just like in this picture here, it can bring some peace, just blowing a little flower, or it can bring destruction through tornadoes. Once again, just understanding that we all have this destructive power within us, and we have this peaceful balance within us as well.
Yeah.
And one of the most easiest ways to really build a relationship with air, actually there are two ways to build a relationship with air. The first one is learning how to breathe and breathe properly. And when I say breathe properly, when you go into your meditation, they say it a lot of time, breathe in through your nose, through your mouth, right? But one of the things you need to incorporate in that is that when you breathe in, you're like poking out your stomach while you're breathing in. So you're pushing all of that air inside of your stomach. And then when you're blowing out through your mouth, you're purposely pushing your belly button to the back of your spine. Now, when you're able to do this and you're able to concentrate just on your breath, you'll notice after a while that those thoughts seem to go away. Okay? And then you're able to get outside of that monkey mind. You're able to step outside of those core belief systems, and you're able to see everything for as it is. And then you can go into using your masculine side and putting some logic to some situations and figuring out how can I get around this.
And also utilize your feminine side, your feminine energy, and tapping into that intuition, tapping into that sixth sense, tapping into that higher mind, that infinite intelligence, where you get the real ideas, not the recycled ones, right? That higher realm. But this one comes after you did all that other stuff, because all those other things that we went through, those hindrances, if those things are not worked on, it will be like it's like steps, prerequisites before you can get to certain steps.
Right. All right. And just moving on to this last one, which is spirit. And as far as the characteristics when it comes to spirit, it's really just energy. It's life force. It's wisdom. And the reason why spirit is so key is that because spirit gives consciousness to everything else. Like everything that is moving, it has a consciousness. Like plants have a consciousness. Animals have a consciousness. We have a consciousness.
Right.
And these are the things that are the driving force for all of us.
And you can think of spirit as the animation. So without spirit, like this body would just be flat someplace, not moving. But the spirit gives life, that animation aspect to it. It's this movement that we're doing, the leaves blowing in the wind, that animation, that beauty that we love to take in, that we love to look at. It's outside of us, it's inside of us, it's around us, spirit. And to master spirit, it would mean, or to build a relationship with spirit, it would mean that you would definitely have to astral project, learn how to astral project, and you would have to learn to lucid dream and really harness in on your dreams. So you would have to keep a dream journal, right? Because the whole thing about life is this. It's really simple, but it's not. It's learning to be awake in the dream, learning to be conscious in the dream. That's the whole thing, because dreaming is a sister of death. It's really not too far from each other. It's just that one is like in the temporary phase. The other one is a little bit longer for the transition. And it's just a whole lot of stuff that goes on, to the other levels, depending on where you're at and where you need to be next, and the vibration that you're at when you transition on. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but the main thing is to master your dreams through lucid dreaming, being able to know that you're dreaming, like, oh shit, I'm dreaming. Like, golly, okay, let me walk through this wall. Oh shoot, I went through the wall. And just being able to know it and own it, and being able to say, you know what, let me go wake up now. And then, boom, you're back into this world consciously, doing it on a conscious level. And it takes practice. It takes dedication, like with anything else.
A lot of practice.
You know, those breathing techniques. You know, meditation is a very, very, very good way of definitely
the relationship with spirit.
Very, very beautiful way, because spirit, you know, you got to think of spirit. It's life. It's life force, right?
Right. And actually, oh yeah, for sure. All right. So we're going to answer your question in just a second, but I wanted to mention something real quickly. That learning to lucid dreaming is really a breakthrough, because for the past couple of months, myself and my baby, we've been really focusing on this lucid dreaming. And it's actually gotten to the point that probably about 2 to 3 times out of the week, while I am going to sleep, I am fully aware of I'm going into sleep. It's like I'm leaving the physical plane and I'm literally like walking into the dream. And when you realize that you're walking into the dream, you can maneuver quite differently. It is a totally different experience. I can't even really explain it, but we'll probably do a video on lucid dreaming just so people can get a little bit, because it's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, learning to lucid dream is a really good way, and meditation is an awesome way to really build a connection and relationship with spirit. But Marcus and Sherry, what you got?
I have a question. Speaking of dreaming and it being directly correlated with the spirit, until a person masters their dreams, can the dreams be deceiving, or should all dreams be taken? I know some people take dreams as signs and looking into the deeper meaning, but until you master it, can it be something that can be used to deceive you? Well, hurt you? Because I understand. Go ahead.
No,
because
it all depends, because you got to think, when you understand of the dream world in a deeper sense of the word, it's the subconscious. It's your subconscious, and oftentimes when you go into the dream state, you can receive messages from other worlds, but it depends on where you're at vibrationally. See, this is why we start out at the top. You know, from working on yourselves, from doing the shadow work, from doing the integration, see how everything kind of falls into place to the next one and leads into the next one. Because if you're vibrating on a denser frequency, right, you're gonna go into your subconscious. Have you ever had a dream where everything was in slow motion? Where you trying to run, but you're running kind of slow. Everything just seems slow and you can't go fast.
Yes, I have had a dream like that before. So
whenever that happens, that means that you're in a denser frequency within the subconscious.
You're vibrating low.
Your vibrations is low. That's what that means.
Yeah, because a lot of things go into dreaming. Because if you really want to have a full experience for dreaming, there are a couple of things that you have to do prior to going to sleep. One of those is eating dinner early. There's a reason why back in the tribal times, the indigenous times, that they had dinner before the sun went down.
Yes.
Part of the reason of that is that you allow your food to digest and you're able to get that out before you actually go to sleep. Because the chemical reactions that go on when your food is being digested, if that chemical reaction is happening while you're having a dream, it can affect your dream either in a negative way or in a positive way, depending on what you're putting in your body. But to get the best experience, it's good to eat before the sun goes down so that your body has time to break that down. Now, the other thing real quickly is that meditation is very key for mastering your dreams, so that you can really see through the illusion of the dream. Because when you're able to meditate, and if you're able to meditate for long periods of time and you're used to being in that that nothingness, I'm not talking about darkness, because it's a totally different experience from darkness and nothingness when you get into the meditation, because you can actually get to the points where you start seeing visions. There's so many times I have meditations when I do a meditation for like 30, 45 minutes, and then I end up seeing faces and places
Yeah.
and remote viewing and all of this
And
stuff.
sometimes they come in as like negatives, like you see the films and then you see the negatives. Sometimes it starts out as negatives and then you get the clearer picture, and you literally, like, you see things, but it all depends on your frequency. And again, going back to one of the universal laws, you're going to attract what you are, where you are vibrationally. And it's not a good or bad or wrong or right. It's just wherever you're at energetically, that's pretty much what you're going to experience, whether you're in this world or whether you're in another world.
Who put that on there? So
That's Ash. Where is that?
I didn't even realize this is slide 69. I did not.
Wow!
That on purpose.
Synchronicity.
Oh gosh!
Look at, guys, we're not even trying over here. We just synchronized. We got the fire. Sherry brought the fire. We got the 69. We're not even trying over here. Look at the universe.
But the last thing I'm gonna say when it comes to the dreams is that there's actually a series that was on that's on Prime, and I'm trying to remember the name of the show. If I could remember the name of the show before we end. Well, you remember that one that was lucid dreaming where the kid was in there?
I'm trying. Hold on.
But once you get to the point of really breaking down your dreams and understanding the techniques and the rituals that need to be done before you go to sleep, you can really take what's happening in that dream world and bring it into the physical world. Because just like I'm able to
it's almost like manifesting.
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sorry, go ahead. So with it being said, you saying that it's a subconscious thing. It's a subconscious thing from the one, and I understand that energy can be transferred also between. So in some cases, our dreams, not necessarily. And I understand that all dreams tell a story, and a lot of them deal with the subconscious and energy and things that you deal with yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing.
But in most cases, or in a lot of cases, I hear people using the dreams as not their energy or something they're picking up, but for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Instead of dealing with the extra subconscious reason for why they're having the dreams.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that, because it actually reminded me of one point that I was going to make about the dreams. Because if we go back and you look at the part where we talked about those belief systems, especially those ones that are fragmented, they're in the subconscious. They're fragmented somewhere, but they'll seep their way through. Sometimes when they get so extreme, they actually come into the physical world, but a lot of the times they show up in our dreams. Any type of unresolved issues that we have, we'll see it in our dreams. Because I know at one point when I was going through my divorce and everything, there was so many different scenarios of dreams that I was having that was tied to it. And in some of those dreams, there were things that I was saying to her in the dreams that I wouldn't say in the physical plane, because there were some things that were going on in my subconscious that I wasn't dealing with. So that's where a lot of that stuff can come in. But like, if you go through these steps of really going within and mastering self, and then once you start putting all these laws together and understanding the elements, and once you understand how to build a relationship with spirit, and you start having dreams, those dreams would be like vacations.
Hello.
They make you, if you in the right mindset and right vibration, that every dream is not literally. It represents something. So if you're having a dream about a certain issue that you used to have before, but this time you feeling calm and at peace, and you know everything's going to be okay, then that's a hurdle that you have went through. That I think that's a positive part of the dream, not the things that happen if you saw purple or like the little bitty things, but just that feeling you get after the dream is over with when you wake. And that's where I would think that's a part of a positive
Yeah.
situation that you don't move through.
Right.
Yeah, because a lot of times those dreams can really speak to you.
Mm-hmm.
And real quick, I'm gonna tell y'all about one dream, and then we're gonna move into day 3 so we can knock this out, because we actually have a little short video for y'all to watch. I think it's about 10.
Oh wow, it's 144.
Wow. Okay. But in this particular dream I had, I was in my mother's old house. We were in the apartment, and my mom was cooking, and she was baking pecans. And because I can remember, she used to bake pecans when I was a kid, and I used to love them because she used to put the butter and the salt, and it was beautiful. But for whatever reason, those pecans stood out real strong to me in my dream. I was like, pecans? What the hell?
Yeah, you told me. You were like, baby, I dreamt about pecans. I'm like, pecans?
Right. And then so because I've been working on my dreams, and I understand that if anything like that stands out the most, you need to look into it. So I went in and I looked up the spiritual meaning of pecans, and from what it was, I almost forgot what it was talking about. It was showing that I was feeling guilty for not carrying my weight, like I was being a leech. And it hit me like a motherfucker when I woke up that morning. Like, I was like, oh, because okay, now this is just getting just a little personal. Just a little personal, okay? Because there are times that I know that Leisha does a little bit more, or even a lot more than I do. And then there are times when I feel like I'm not doing as much as I should, but I wasn't vocalizing it. And so because I wasn't vocalizing it, my subconscious brought it up.
Yeah.
And like, you need to deal with this. And so like after I had that dream, I sat down and I confided with Leisha, like, look, this is how I'm feeling. And we were able to sit down and have a rational conversation about it, instead of having something that just blow up like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. So yeah, those dreams can be super, super powerful if you pay attention to them.
Yeah, you just got to pay attention, because keeping in mind that, we're not, and always as above, so below. But keep going back to this law, because it's so important to always remember this, right? So when we come into this earthly realm, guys, do we come in just on a whole, like nobody's there to catch us? Like, we come from a womb through a mother. Everyone comes in here through a womb, through a mother. And the mother is here to nurture us. The mother is here to care for us until we can take care of ourselves, right? So that's in this realm of reality. In the other world, we got people there to help us out too. We got our ancestors. We have our spirit guides. We have our higher self, right? Who's going to be like, yo, you slipping. What are you doing?
Right.
Like, the same in this world, the same in the other world. It's the same. Same in the unseen, same in the seen. It's just that one might be on a different frequency than this one, due to the density of where we at right now.
Yep.
So sometimes in your dream state, you might get a few messages to remind you of something, to wake you up. Something might come through in the subconscious. I know I dreamt about my dad, when he passed on. I talked about this dream on YouTube, when my dad came to me literally in my dream and told me what to do in my dream to get some money. And
we did it too.
It was weird as hell. And oh my God, it was so, like, I'm getting chills. Like, he came into my dream and I was hugging him because I missed him. So I gave him a hug. Daddy, I miss you. And he said, I miss you too. Let me hug you. And he was showing me something. It was cool. And it was kind of like we were looking down on something. It's like we had a bird's eye view of something. And he was showing me a shark that was swimming in the water. And he said, look at that shark, Leisha. You see how they're treating that shark? And it was like some fishermen, and they were killing the shark. And I'm like, why are they treating the shark like that? And he was like, come, let me show you something. And he got out a board. Like, he's going to teach me. And he started writing stuff on the board, and he was teaching me. And he was saying, Leisha, you're going to get some money. But in order for you to get this money, you're going to have to prove who you are. So remember, to go and get the money. And when you get some of the money, I want you to give some to your mom. And I'm like, okay, so where am I gonna get this money? He's like, don't worry about it. You're just gonna come into the money, and when you come into the money, just know that you're gonna have to prove who you are. And I woke up, and I'm like, damn, that was a weird ass dream. And so, got my cell phone, went to Credit Karma, and then I check it. It's just normal for me to check it to see what's going on with the credit score, right? We in this matrix. Mm-hmm. So I looked at the bottom, and it said, what is that? What's the funds?
Unclaimed
funds. I've never seen that on Credit Karma. I've been checking Credit Karma for years. I've never seen it. And so I said, unclaimed funds, what the hell is this? So I clicked on it. And I'm like, and then I felt the feeling again, like the dream that I just had, like fill it out. So I'm like, fill it out. Okay, fill it out. So went on with the intuition. I filled it out. 2 checks from unclaimed funds that was sitting there, just not collected. Mm-hmm. And I never even thought of that. And I needed money to do something. Mm-hmm. So sometimes our dreams, depending on what's going on, in the unseen, we have our soul group, mm-hmm. people in our soul group, our soul family. They'll help us out. They'll bring us messages. We just have to be able to pay attention and be conscious and be aware of some of these things. Some dreams are not for you to brush off, really.
Right. Yeah, they're really not. But let's go ahead and get into the magic part. All right. Now,
juicy.
With everything that we just mentioned, this is understanding self and understanding how to control self, mm-hmm. and then knowing how to take yourself and maneuver through this reality. Yes. Okay. Now, when it comes to the art of alchemy, now we're just going to give y'all the basics of the art of alchemy. The art of alchemy is taking all of this, as far as the stuff that's internal and the stuff that's external, and using it to your benefit by mm-hmm. understanding how it works.
Right, and how to work with it and working within the balance. Mm-hmm. You find the magic in the balance of things. That's where the real magic is. That's where the transformation takes place. It takes mm-hmm. place within the balance.
Yes. Now, when we look into the origin of alchemy, you have to break the word down, because if you haven't learned anything else from everything else that we've mentioned here, etymology is key. Mm-hmm. And when you start breaking the word down, you can actually see what alchemy means. And I forgot to put that these are like the Latin or,
Greek and Latin.
Yeah, the Greek and Latin terminologies of this. But the al means the, and the chemia, which means chem, mm-hmm. equals Egypt. So when you look at alchemy, it's the art of Egypt. Okay. Beautiful. Now, when you look into the art of Egypt, okay, you have to think who created it, right? Now, a lot of people reference him as Hermes the 3 times great, mm-hmm. because apparently he died 3 times and he came back, okay? But he first was incarnated as Thoth, mm-hmm. the Egyptian god who wrote the Emerald Tablets. Mm-hmm. And when he came back again, he came back as Hermes Trismegistus, mm-hmm. which is a Greek god. And in that, he wrote the Corpus Hermeticus. Mm-hmm. Okay, you gotta keep those words going. Now, in the Emerald Tablets, it pretty much broke down what alchemy is. Mm-hmm. But just like many religious texts, is not meant to be read literally. No. Okay. There are codes within the words, okay? And we're actually just going to break down the first sentence on the Emerald Tablets. And the not Emerald Tablets, because there's only one, it's Emerald Tablet. One. There's only one, and it's probably about 4 or 5 paragraphs in the Emerald Tablet. I think it's like real short, but it has a lot of meaning within it. And we're just going to break down what that is, because when you look into the Emerald Tablets, is really handing you on a silver platter how to create your own world. Okay?
Oh, another level right there.
But you have to understand it. You have to first understand yourself, and you have to first understand the elements in order to catch what he's about to put down on this. Okay? So I'm just going to read the first quote here, which is that which is that which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below.
Right.
That sounds like a whole riddle in these streets.
It's the same thing, as above, so below. It's real easy.
Okay.
Break it down real simple.
So if y'all know about those universal laws that we just kind of briefly went through, you can probably have a little bit more understanding versus if you had just seen this for the first time, you'd be like, what the hell? Because I know when I read the Emerald Tablet the first time, I was like, okay.
Yeah, and this is just like the Emerald Tablet in the original text that is written, like you really have to kind of like engulf yourself in it to really, it's kind of like it's a moving energy with the tablet itself. When you're reading through it, it's almost like when you're reading, you're not really getting the understanding, you're getting the understanding, but instead of with the words, it's coming from within. It's really a different type of information.
Right. Now we're gonna help y'all decode this a little bit. And as you can see down on the bottom left, we still have the quote down at the bottom. But let's break a few things down. We're going to break down what do they mean as far as above and below, and what does it mean to correspond. Okay, so when they're talking about in the Emerald Tablets, as above, they're talking about the heavens, the sky, the abode of God, and the internal landscape of the soul. All right, we can go to below.
And what is below? The earth, the land of mortals, the place where God puts his creations.
Yes. So when they so when you look at alchemy, what they're pretty much is just breaking down is really understanding the universe and the environment that we're in. So this is what they're talking about. So when we look at this quote, that which is below, which is the earth, the land of mortals, the place where God puts his creation, corresponds with that which is above, which is the heavens, the skies, God, and the internal landscape of the soul. Okay? But now let's look a little bit further and see what does it mean to correspond. Okay? So when you look at the word correspond, you actually have to go back to the root Latin word, and I do apologize I didn't put the original Latin word in there, but it's actually broken down core and then respond. Okay? And what that means is that to be in union with it. Now, what is it? We're going to get into that in just a second. But, and then you also have to break down what is union. Union is the two separate things are actually one thing. Now you see why the universal laws are important, because when you understand the universal law of oneness, you understand that everything is one. So when they're saying, let me go back to this quote real quick. So when they're saying that which is below corresponds to that which is above, so these two places are corresponding together, but they're actually in union and they're one.
And then you could think of this like, have you ever wondered how people are able to predict things? Like, how come these astronomers are always telling us what's going to happen next? Their head are always in the skies. That's why. And they look at patterns. They understand the cycles. They can look up and they can say, oh, shoot, here come the great conjunction. So Corona is coming.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, here comes the other conjunction. Oh, we got triple conjunctions this year. I know something is going to go down. Because if an explosion is going on in the skies or in the in the outer world, in space, whatever you want to call it. It's going to happen down here. And this is how you could really apply this, the as above, so below. And you can really look at it, like once you start getting an understanding of your birth, like your natal chart, you really start understanding how these stars are aligned and what it means when, you know, when you have this constellation over here and how it correlates with the other constellation. You really start seeing how this realm of reality works on a macro level, and then take it down to a micro level for yourself.
Yep. Now, and going back off of what it says to be in union with it. Now, what is it? Now, in understanding what it is, you have to understand the principles of alchemy. Now, for the alchemists during that time, they believed in the prima materia. The prima materia is the belief that everything came from one thing, and that one thing is the source of life. But the crazy thing is that this one thing is expressed as three things. Okay? Now, if you see the symbol that's over here on the right, that is actually the alchemical symbol for the prima materia. And if you've seen it, and more likely you've seen it in the Harry Potter movies.
Of course.
Okay? That's where you'll first see it. But it's funny because a lot of people really don't know what the hell they got on the back of their car when they put these stickers on the back.
They have no idea.
They think it's just a representation of Harry Potter. No, it's not. You have to look into the origin of these things and where it came from and understand the power that is behind that. Okay? Now, this expression through three things, it didn't just come out of anywhere. And that's why you see the Holy Trinity a lot.
And you can see it in every reliquia. It's in every reliquia. It just have different names, but it's the same thing.
Yeah. You always have the Son, the Father, and the Spirit. And a lot of, okay, to understand this, you have to understand a little bit about the history of alchemy and the history of religion. Okay? Because prior to Christianity, of course, there were a lot of different religions that were practiced. And one other thing that I would also suggest that you make a note of is to understand Norse mythology. That's Norse.
Yes.
And understanding Greek mythology. And then Egyptian mythology. Okay? These are really tied together, but they're expressed in a couple of different ways. And it's funny that it's three of them. You have the Norse mythology, you have the Egyptian gods, and then you have the Roman or Greek mythology. Okay? And in each one of these mythologies, you have a holy trinity. You have a holy trinity in the Norse mythology, you have one in Greek mythology, and you have it in the Egyptian stuff. Okay? But when you look into alchemy, it's comprised of three things. And what are those three things, baby?
You got the sulfur, which is the soul, the consciousness, the oil. And you have the mercury, which is the spirit, the mind, the liquor. And then you have the salt, the body, the thought, the alkaline salt. That's what those three things are. And you see, this is slide number 77. Wow. That is crazy.
Right. And see, now this also goes back to understanding the elements and understanding that you already have the earth element within you. Because if you remember when I said if you lick yourself, you're made of salt. Okay. This goes back to the principle that the prima materia is in everything. And that prima materia is expressed in three different ways. And so we all have a body,
right?
We all have a spirit, and we all have a soul and consciousness. Okay? So once again, understanding these things are within you, but now let's understand how they interact with each other. Okay? So when you look into the salt, we're talking about the body. And when you look at the definition on the alchemist level, is saying that the body is a material structure that embodies or gives concrete reality to something abstract. Okay? And once again, this is not something that you read literally, because when you think about what it just said here, a material structure that embodies or gives concrete reality to something abstract. Now, normally something that is abstract, you can't really touch it or see it. Then what is it? It's represented as a thought. So a body is a physical representation of a thought. Okay? And that's that. We're going to circle back and we're going to show you how this all ties together, okay?
Stick with us, guys. Stick with us.
All right. And so the next one is Mercury, which is spirit. You want to read the spirit one, baby?
Yes, it's not the one they put in the vaccines.
No.
So,
No.
okay, so spirit is defined as the mind, right? Where thought, ideas come from, right? Which is a body of structured forms of ideas. That's the spirit. Like literally, that's the spirit.
Yeah. Because you have those that spark of intuition. And when you have that spark of intuition, you have that thought that's formed. And then, well, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm hold tight. Hold tight for a second.
So with the in spirit, right?
Yeah.
When we think of the word inspiration, right? Inspiration literally means in spirit. When you break down the etymology of inspiration, it's in spirit. And then what is spirit? Spiritus, which is breath, which is life, right? So those are your ideas. You literally give life to your ideas.
Yes. And to the next one, which is sulfur. Okay, sulfur is the soul, which is also on the alchemy level is defined as the mind. And when they define the mind, they say that the mind is an inherent faculty of consciousness. Okay, so when you look at this, you have the sulfur, you have the soul, which is the consciousness. This is where the real thinking happens. This is where the creation happens. And this is actually why the alchemists consider sulfur to be the actuating cause, okay, of everything. And so I'm going to break it down and I'm going to actually go in reverse on this. So y'all just hold tight with me. So if you have sulfur, you have the soul. This is where consciousness comes from. And this is actually where thoughts and ideas are birthed from. Okay? So this is why when you have thoughts, of course, about an invention, it may have been birthed out of somebody else's consciousness and it floated by because they didn't grab hold to it. But what happens is that, so through the sulfur, through the mind, an idea is sparked. And then it goes into the spirit where these ideas start taking form, because now your wheels are turning and you be like, okay, I want some ice cream, but I have to get up and actually go to the refrigerator and get it. And so that's where the thoughts, it starts to give shape. It starts to tell you what to do and how to do it. And then you get into the salt where it actually manifests into your reality. Now you actually have the ice cream in your hand. You got the spoon and you eating it.
And you going at it. You're going at it.
Okay. So this is understanding this concept, understanding that everything is understanding that the sulfur, which is the soul, it starts everything. So when you're talking about in alchemy, just in a nutshell, once again, this is just a really short, brief introduction into alchemy.
Yeah.
Because it is so much deeper into it.
Yeah.
But once you understand that the soul in an alchemy sense is equal to the primal materia. And so alchemy is the understanding of the relationship between consciousness
and matter. Boom. How to bring those dreams, literally, into your current physical reality. How to pull it down.
Right. So when you have that inspiration, or if you want to get inspiration, now you know the real benefit of meditating and unblocking all of those chakras so that you can get access to higher self, and you can bring in those downloads or those ideas that can really create the world that you want to live in. And then you take those thoughts and you start putting a plan together on how can I make this happen and bring this into reality. And then here comes the reality. And then that gets into our next part, which is actually tied into alchemy, which is the sexual alchemy. Because now when you look into the sexual alchemy, part of that manifestation is actually bringing a life into this world.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a whole creation. It's a creation, and then you have the three again with the creation. So you have the mom, you have the dad, and then you have the creation. So you, again, the three.
Yeah. So this is understanding the alchemy in this, and just to keep this brief, because we didn't want to get too long into this one. We actually have a video that we're going to share on this one, and then after this video is done, then we're just going to get into the Q&A of things, and actually tell y'all a little bit about what we do as far as the sexual act. not like that.
It's like, oh, wait a minute. I don't want to know what y'all do.
we ain't getting
no, just how to really
how to harness that
right,
energy.
how to harness the energy.
All
how
right.
to make it work for you.
So let me get
Y'all so crazy.
No, we ain't doing that. But let me get this where'd it go? Okay.
There you go.
So give me just a second, y'all. I'm gonna get this pulled up and we gonna
this is gonna break it down into really everyday terms, so you'll be able to use it in your everyday life.
And once it starts playing, just give us a thumbs up or something in the chat to make sure that you all can hear it as well and you can see it.
Thank you guys. I want to share with you today how to create magic and activate your Shakti power. I know David is excited about this, but it's not that kind of magic. It's actually a more controversial subject. So prepare yourself, because over the next few minutes, we will look at how you find your Shakti, how you harness its power, and how you spread the love so you can use this power and this energy in your daily life. But before I start, by a show of hands, how many of you know what Shakti is, or have you ever heard of Shakti before? 1, 2, just a few of you. Maybe you're shy on answering this question. So I'll take a minute to describe this. Shakti comes from a Sanskrit word, and the meaning behind it, it's power and empowerment. Shakti is seen as the primordial cosmic energy, and in Hinduism is described as the divine mother. And one mother is because this energy manifests through female embodiment, through energy, through nurture, through fertility, nature, creation. Now, when you do a little bit of a research, you find Shakti is always with Shiva. Shakti and Shiva are actually seen as the all-in-one divine consciousness. They're two different sides of the same coin. We have Shiva, masculine principle, which is consciousness, and then we have Shakti, the feminine principle, which is the birthing energy, the creator, the nurturer, the movement, right? So in Tantra, Shakti manifests itself through Kundalini, and you've probably seen these images. If you haven't, just pay attention to some pharmacy logos, you'll see the resemblance. But Kundalini starts at the base of your spine. And when this energy is activated, it moves through your body to meet Shiva at the top, at the crown of your head. So in a tantric way, we call this the ultimate bliss. And that is some magic there. If you haven't figured it out, Shakti is described a lot as our sexual energy. But this has nothing to do with sex. It's not just about sex. It has nothing to do with the religion or the beliefs that you have in. It's just the way the energy manifests within ourselves. It's the life force that makes us act and react. Before I tell you how you find your inner power, I just want to tell you a little story. So once upon a time, there was this girl who believed in fairy tales, and she thought that she found her Prince Charming. She marries the prince, leaves her family, crosses lots of lands and seas, and ends up in a new wonderland called Canada. This would have been the place where her children would be born and raised, and they'll live happily ever after, right? Well, reality kicked in and knocked me off my feet. 3 years later, I ended up getting a divorce. 8 months after the divorce is final, I got into a car accident where I rolled off the highway in a very dark, crazy winter of Canada. So that happened 6 years ago. I was 25 at the time, and I felt like I was losing grip with my life. I felt lost, confused, probably depressed, but I would have never admitted at the time. So it was a moment that made me question, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go next? Through some fortunate circumstances, I had a lot of people in my life that pointed me to various aspects of personal development. And that's how I discovered Tony Robbins and the book Awaken the Giant Within. If you didn't read it, do, because it's an amazing book. It helped me rediscover myself. It helped me look at personal growth in a whole new way. And that way, it showed me that the powerful energy within us can help us heal, can help us move forward, can help others around us. So when the time comes to say farewell out of this world, we actually leave something behind. We can make a difference. So to find your inner power, you actually don't have to go look for it because it's in there. You can call it Shakti energy, you can call it feminine principle, you can call it sexual energy, call it whatever you want. But it's already part of us. Just ask quantum physics. Everything is energy, right? So we know there are two principles, and the energy we have within ourselves manifests in two different ways. In a static, grounding way, the masculine principle, in a moving, flowing way, the feminine principle. In Tantra, the grounding energy, the masculine principle, is there to hold the space for your Shakti, for the moving energy to create and to birth everything around us. Now, Tantra is a practice. It's not synonym with Kama Sutra. I know you guys heard of that, but that's a different topic. So this energy, it's your creative power. And when you tap into your creative power, it not only enhances and boosts our own sexual energy, but it boosts our life force. It's the drive behind our movement, our decisions, our actions, our reactions. So it seems like the slides are a little bit out of order, but this energy will help you tune in to yourself, and it will help you move forward and become a better person every single day. Become the better version of yourself. And then you get to support and surround yourself with people who can move to the same direction, and you can make a difference. Now, when you tap into your energy, you have creativity at the tips of your fingers. And not only the fire that comes out of this energy, it pushes us forward. It actually brings the light from within outside. We hear that all the time. Your happiness is within you, your strength is within you. But on a cellular level, do you really believe that without no doubt? Without ever worrying that there's nothing, an energy that creates this movement out of us. So you can actually experience boosted motivation, inner happiness out of nothing, strength in the most dire needs, and joy out of just simple moments in our life. And when you experience that, you are capable of creating magic. How? By just recognizing that your energy is already there. You just have to tune in, listen to it. Have you ever felt the palpitations in your fingers, or the vibration in your body, or a tickle in your ear? Every physical reaction, it is an actual energetic response. We just have to start being open and react to the way it manifests in your body. So find the present moment. This is the best way to tap into this energy, is to recognize that we need to tune into our own body. We need to listen to how the energy flows. How many body sensations in a given time can you identify? Perspiration, heat, cold, the air on your skin. All these things, we go in our day without even observing how our body reacts when we interact with people, with circumstances, situations around us. So When I discovered this energy that is all over our body, inside of us, the more you practice, the more you flow with this energy, the more you'll be able to energize yourself, and the more you'll be able to discover new ways of being creative and finding new solutions to whatever life hits you with. There's a fire that is there. You just have to start tapping into it. Have you ever read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill? If you haven't, do check it out. The author shows us how highly successful people actually use their sexual desire and sexual energy into their own work, into their projects, into pushing them forward, into overcoming failure and rejection. So when I talk about finding your Shakti, finding your energy, I'm referring to finding the space to reconnect back with your body, to be present, to actually realize that you can impact any kind of relationship that you have, intimate and non-intimate, because that energy that you project outside of you, it will impact your surrounding, it will impact the people you interact with, and it will change the way they react to you. Not only it will actually boost your strength, and it will show you that the most powerful strength comes from us, and we can tackle anything. And you don't need to go through a divorce or a car accident to figure that out. You just have to tap into your source. And you become your own superhero, because we hear from people around us how strong we are, how we're capable of everything. But we need to start believing in ourselves, and we need to listen to this power that flows through you every single day. So how do you harness this power? First of all, be present. Be in this moment here and now. Stop being disconnected with our bodies. There's still a talking about sexual energy or talking about our desires and needs in our body. We need to connect back to that. We need to become present, realize that the past and future thoughts are not going to help us move forward. So we need to become more present. When you talk to a friend, forget the phone, don't have any distractions, and be in that conversation. Be in your surroundings when you're at the park or at the beach, anywhere. Try to be mindful and present of everything you do. One way that works really well is when you wake up. You don't need more than 1 minute. Your body's already relaxed. Just observe where you feel the energy. Is it in the stomach? Is it at the top of your head? Is it in your feet? And let it flow through you, and imagine your day through this energy. You'll realize that you'll be able to impact the way your day goes. And not only, you'll actually be able to change circumstances. And if things don't go your way, you just have to react at it differently. You realize you become a lot more creative in finding solutions. And your day completely shifts around, and other people's day shifts around because of you. So just give it a try. Don't take my word for it. You're thinking, magic, Shakti, Shiva, what planet am I on, right? It's a very blissful one, trust me. Just give it a try to observe your energy again. A very, very easy way to tap into your energy is during desire and arousal. It's impossible for you to have never felt this energy. Butterflies in your stomach. Oh, I'm flustered. I'm hot. I'm cold. You all felt this. And that is your energy responding to you. So when this happens next time, observe it. Don't react to it. Don't act on it immediately. Just observe what happens to your body, to your thoughts, to your mind, and choose to do something else. Go to the gym or finish a project that you've been delaying. Put this energy to a different aspect of your life, and you will be able to create magic. Trust me. So it will impact a lot of aspects of your life. But I want to show you a different side of the story. I watched this video so many times and it still gets to me every single time. It's very unfortunate that we have this strength and this power and this energy within us, and it's used to abuse and oppress and harm others, especially in cases of children, child marriages, child abuse. Now, imagine a toddler who's afraid to go into a room at the side of a bed, who goes through physical and emotional pain every time she's bathed. When they try to change her diaper, she goes into madness. She pulls her hair, scratches her face, wounds her body. What has happened to this child to cause all that? Now, we all know it's sexual abuse, and it's very unfortunate because this is a real story. You can find this on an organization's website called Love 146. They work on ending child trafficking and exploitation. So we still deal till this day with a very negative aspect of our energy, our sexual energy, our desire. And we deal with taboo, we deal with guilt, with shame, with pain. So when this beautiful energy is used in harmful ways, especially introduced to people who are not ready for it, who do not understand it, it just causes a lot of stress and harmful way of life. So just a few facts: 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys have been victims of sexual traumas. 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced sexual traumas. 20% of women and 5 to 10% of men remember a childhood sexual trauma, and 120 million girls in the world have been sexually forced. These are alarming numbers. Yes, they have changed over the course of the last decade or two. They have dramatically dropped, but we're still dealing with a very high number of sexual abuse, of an energy that has impacted my life and helped me move forward in so many ways. Yet again, we actually have this disease in our society. My husband at the time used to tell me that I have to be intimate with him because I'm his wife. It's a given. It shouldn't be. No partner, boyfriend, husband has the right to ask you to give yourself or your energy to them when you don't want to, because that causes pain, that causes you to shut down, that causes us to not recognize who we are anymore and turn our life into a lot of suffering. So when I think of reinventing tomorrow, I think of putting all our together and being able to make a difference, to help others move forward, to nurture those around us, to love them, to show them that there is good and this energy can be used for good. So we need to spread the love. We need to harness this energy and actually put it up for good use. We need to show that there is a side that helps you to heal, that helps you to embrace yourself, to actually love of you with all the sides, good, bad, whatever comes along. So stand in your truth. My message for you today is please stand in your truth. Recognize that there is a power within us that we disconnected from, and we need to tap back in it. We need to lead by example. We need to help others heal and heal ourselves and teach those around us that this energy, it will create magic if you use it in a healthy way. So, and heal yourself while healing others. Be supportive. Be there for those who need us. And most of all, to create a better tomorrow, we need to create a better today. And that starts now with you. Thank you.
That was beautiful. So
right.
that was our beautiful clip from that wonderful lady.
Yes. And see, now this is one of the reasons why we chose this particular video is, once again, understanding that there is a negative side and there's a positive side, and it's embracing it all. Okay, because even though there's pain in there, there's also beauty and there's strength. Okay, and yes, that energy, that sexual energy, can be used to transform your life. And depending on how it's used, it can be used to transform it in a beautiful way, or it can be destructive.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let me just we're gonna get into some things. Let me just unmute everybody here. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna get into some things. But bringing it back to a lighter note, we're gonna give you all some tips on how you can actually utilize your own sexual energy.
That's if you would like some tips. So
Yeah.
if you guys would like some tips, you might already know how. But if you would like us to share some tips, we'll be more than happy to.
Yeah, just
in a very
raise your
PG
hand
way.
we'll do our best. Or if y'all have any questions about anything else, just let us know.
Yeah, because we went a little longer than we wanted to, only because we did just want to rush into the last part of it to give everyone the idea of how to interconnect, day 1, day 2, and then day 3, and how it all really works together in mastering self. Anybody got any questions, outbursts, concerns? All right.
Oh, we all good.
It's late. They're tired.
Well, I got something I would like to say.
Okay,
So,
go ahead, Cindy.
Just when we were talking about the Trinity, and it kind of brought this thought. So a couple weeks ago, I kind of got at a place where I was like super frustrated with spirituality, and I'm like, because I hear so many people talk about their experience with like spirits and their ancestors and all of these deities or whatever that they, have experience with. And I'm just like, well, I haven't had that experience. And I don't know, it just triggered all these thoughts. And I started thinking like, why is it that we as humans always like trying to insert this something in between ourselves and our creator? It's like we always have to have this third or fourth or fifth. And I'm like, when you really think about it, we're giving power to these archangels or deities or whatever. So I was super frustrated that day, and I just had thought after thought. And then finally I was like, you know what? For me, I don't care what nobody else. For me, it's just like, it's my creator, my higher self, and then it's me. And it's just like, when you guys started talking about the Trinity, I was like, wow, I literally created my own, like not created my own Trinity, but realized my own Trinity.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. And I'm glad that is your truth. That is your step to self-discovery. And one thing that I want to say, as far as like your angels or your ancestors or your guides, you want to think of it like in this retrospect. These are with the oneness, right? These are all a part of you. Like your higher self is just a more okay, so
it's that celestial body that's in your subtle body.
Right. A more advanced version of yourself, helping you through this teeny experience that we have here. Pretty much know what is going to happen, what you're going to do, or how to help you to assist and move through this terrain. That's the highest self. Then you have the oversoul. But it's all you. It's all a part of you. So you don't need to look on the exterior to find those things. And this is why we really want to stress on going the journey within, because that's where you're going to find what you're looking for when you start journeying within. Like having the ancestor altar, we kind of got rid of that because you have different levels of your spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Because the ancestors don't want no chicken and they don't care for all of that stuff. They don't, that's not necessary. But if that's what you feel like you need to do until you get to the next phase, then do that. but
Yeah.
it's different phases to it. And you're going to go through your phases too. We all going to go through our phases.
Yeah.
One day you might just see your great-great-grandfather. You probably might not even recognize him because he's probably going to be in a dream and he's probably going to look so different because he's going to show up different or she's going to show up different, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it just might not be your time to experience it. Who knows? Or you might never experience it because maybe you don't need to. Maybe it's not a part of your journey to experience that. Maybe you experienced it already. So someone else's journey it might look different than yours.
Right.
So it's no right, it's no wrong. It's just, your journey, and I'm glad that you embraced it.
Yeah. And to add, well, not so much add on to that, but embracing your own truth,
Yeah.
you take your power back.
Boom.
And part of the sexual alchemy or the tantric part of it,
Mm-hmm.
that's embracing your sexuality.
Right.
Because when you do that, that's another part of you
Mm-hmm.
that you're bringing within.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to put this in, but I'm not 100% sure on this, because I know when it comes around the sexual energy, people kind of dance around it. They don't want to,
because it's so much taboo. It's a lot of taboo that's been
it's a lot of taboo
that's been put on it.
But I'm going to step out on faith and saying that we're grown-ups and people know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to keep this as PG as possible. So in harnessing your sexual energy, actually, before you even get into that, going through these steps that we mentioned before are setting the foundation for you to actually do this, to actually harness this sexual energy. Because there's so many cases of people that tap into that Kundalini energy, that creative energy, and they haven't gone through and done these works. As far as the shadow work, unblocking the chakras and things of that nature, it can drive people crazy, literally.
And then you can get like really bad back pains.
Right.
Because the energy can literally get stuck.
It's stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole nother type of pain.
Yeah. But first thing is, of course, meditation, getting really comfortable in the meditation and being present in the moment. Just like she was saying in the video, when you're out with your friends and y'all are having lunch, be present in that moment. Put the cell phone to the side.
Yeah.
Even when you're eating dinner, put that cell phone to the side. And if you got somebody in front of you, you engage in that conversation. Or if you don't even have anybody around you, you engage with your food. You meditate on that food while you're there. You're present in the moment. Putting this into practice is going to help you when it comes to the sexual energy.
Yeah.
The next thing is breathing techniques.
Ooh.
Okay. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with different forms of breathing techniques. But one of the ones that's going to be really helpful when it comes to the sexual energy is box breathing.
Yeah.
Where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold for 4.
Yeah.
Because what's going on with that? What's going on in the chats? Okay, yes, Teresa knows about
wonderful.
it. Okay. That's one breathing technique that you really want to get comfortable with. Now, there's another breathing technique that that is done where you're involving your whole body, right? And this is the breathing that you're going to be utilizing when you're trying to harness that sexual energy, okay? So first I'm going to describe the breathing technique, and then I'm going to give a little bit more about what you're looking for, okay? So this breathing technique is pretty simple. It's just taking deep breaths in, deep breaths out, but you're engaging the stomach as you're doing it. And there's a reason behind that, because actually, let me go in and explain this. So when you get sexually aroused, especially in the genitalia area, right? You know when you have that tingling going down there, Just like the women had the tingling down there, the men had the tingling down there too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the moment where you're present with that feeling, when you're present with that passion and that energy that's in there. And so when you feel that energy, that's when you breathe it in, and you pushing your stomach, pushing your belly button to the back of your spine. Okay. Now, what that is doing is that when you're pushing your belly button into your spine, you're pushing that sexual energy up through your spine. Now, you have to visualize this as it's going on. You're pushing that energy to the back of your spine. And the whole time you're in this whole moment, you're feeling that euphoria, you're feeling that ecstasy, right? You hold on to that feeling and you push it up. You push it up until you feel it at the very top of your head. Okay? When you have it at the top of your head, this is when the magic can happen. So if you have something that you're trying to manifest, whether it's a job or if you're trying to get money, now this doesn't happen if you're trying to attract a mate, because what that is, that's going against free will. Okay? One of the other laws that's not mentioned is that you don't infringe on anybody's free will. Okay?
Well, maybe not so much that it won't happen, but keeping in mind things like cause and effect.
Right.
Okay? Because that's why we have people in the world who can use the sexual energy to create some bliss, and there's other people in the world who can use the energy to just do a whole bunch of disrespectful stuff.
Right.
Because energy is not bad in the sense, it's what you do with it. The knife is not bad. We use it to make some delicious meals. It's just what you do with the knife. You know, so just keeping that in mind when you're operating, keeping in mind cause and effect and the type of life experience that you want to have. Like my baby said, keeping in mind the respectful bounds of free will, keeping in mind all these natural laws that's here to keep the universe in balance when you're doing your creation. Just don't hurt anybody, because, you know, cause and effect, you know, as within, so without, and keep in mind the oneness. You know, when you hurt someone, it's kind of like hurting yourself.
Right. Yep.
If you trap someone, you're trapping yourself, you know.
Right.
You just got to keep those things in mind when you're doing the creation part.
Yeah. Now, once you have this ecstasy at the top of your head, right? Yes, karma. Yeah, you're right, Teresa.
Boom, bingo.
Once you have this bliss at the top of your crown, this is the moment where you focus on the thing that you want to manifest. Now, this is where the law of attraction comes in, okay? This is the moment when you have that bliss going on in your head, and it's crazy because as I'm talking to y'all, I'm actually feeling it in my head, and I hadn't even done anything.
Lord of mercy.
But this is the moment where you visualize yourself in that moment. You have that thing. Let's just say, for example, a car, okay? You want to manifest a car. You know the particular brand that you want. This is where you get specific. You get laser focused
detail
on what you want. Don't leave out any details because you're creating here. So you manifest that that BMW with the peanut butter leather seats, the heated and the cool seats, drop top, 20-inch rims. And now you imagine yourself riding down the street with that wind just blowing in your hair, and you feel those emotions that are going on in that moment. Once you couple that together with that energy of bliss and your emotions, this is how you pray. This is how the people in the Indus Valley pray. When they needed rain, they just they just go to the ground where it's just dry dirt. And they close their eyes and they imagine their feet in the wet soil, and they're just squeaking their toes in that wet soil, and they're just so thankful and grateful for that moment, because gratitude is one of the things that's going to like fire rocket,
shoot it down,
your manifestation. Now in saying this, it's all beautiful and things of that nature, but this comes with practice.
It does, and then you have to make sure the way that these things really work. And to speed it up is to really harness that monkey mind.
Yes.
And the reason why you want to get rid of those core beliefs, or not even get rid of them, but the reason why you want to change those stories that's in your core belief system, because they can come in as like a block, as a hindrance Because, you know, you could be like, oh, I'm going to get this new promotion. But then here come your monkey mind. Yeah, right. You know you've been late all month. What job? What promotion you about to get being laid off? You know what I'm saying? Those little thoughts that keep popping up when you're trying to manifest and you just keep showing up, like, you know. So you have to have done the work to put those things to rest, to change the story that's underneath there, so that whenever triggers come, the triggers don't work. And that would allow your manifestation to have a smoother transition. And on the physical note, so we can understand how this works also on the physical level with the manifestation and the energy, the sexual energy, is that what happens is with when it starts rising and it goes to the top and you push that energy to the top, the reason why you're able to do the creation is because the mind, right, needs a stimuli. It needs something to stimulate it. And so because that energy is such a high frequency, because, you know, the ego is not in there, you know, there's no judgment in that energy. That energy is just free and pure in its truest form. It's a creator energy. And it gets up to the mind, and that frequency, it starts vibrating so high. It's a high frequency. So it's that creative frequency, that frequency that brings babies into this world. And so this is how it's able to tap into the infinite intelligence. And so this is why you have to be very detailed when you're working with the infinite intelligence, life force energy. Because look at Mother Nature, very detailed. Any type of creation that comes here, very detailed. Look at the leaf, just the leaf, it's details to it. Look at the baby, details to it. So whenever you're tapping into this infinite intelligence and you're using that creative energy with that frequency and that vibration that's going really fast, you want to make sure you have a picture and it's detailed. And you want to make sure that you don't have the monkey mind after you send off your mail to the universe, you know, couple hours after. You don't want to have the monkey mind jumping around. Right. So this
come through and block it like a linebacker.
Like a hater. It's almost like sometimes you got the hater on the inside. So we see the hater on the outside, right? So we want to make sure that we use all of these progressive steps to really so that it kind of flows. You get that flow. And that's what they talk about. You know, they talk about getting into that flow.
Yes.
So I just wanted to add that one part into understanding that the energy that we're dealing with, again, going back to the element of fire, that passion, it's transmutational. So the energy of the rising going up, it's a transmutational energy, and this is how it allows us to manifest. Because we are, again, going back to the other element, okay, we are pulling down from the consciousness down to matter, and alchemy is relating consciousness to matter. So bringing it from the ethers and pulling it down, and we could do that because we are co-creators.
Yeah, and one other tip when it comes to using the sexual energy, this is really a ritual, okay? And in such, you want to set the mood. You want to set the mood, right?
So miserable.
So when you're doing this, you actually want to engage all of your senses when you're doing this. So you want to light some incense, light some candles, bring in some soft fabrics, something that's gentle to the touch. You want to really
work with some colors,
some sounds, to really just bring all of those elements within, because that's really what you're doing. You're bringing all of those elements into that space. And when you're feeling that energy rising, you're breathing all of that in.
Right, because keeping in mind, color has a vibration, sound has a vibration, the smell, you know, that's a certain frequency. Like, what is the smell doing? Like the sage, keeping the air, the frequency clear and stuff like that. So you want to keep all those things in mind, and just, and this, with this information, it allows you to live on purpose.
Yes.
It allows you to do things, you move forward consciously. Instead of doing, you know, things just happening and you don't know why is this shit happening? I don't understand. Why I keep doing the same thing? I don't understand. Because now this brings you into a different awareness. And this is what's called raising your consciousness and raising your vibrations.
Yes.
Because now you're going to be more aware of your body. Now you're going to be laying in your bed and you're going to be waking up in the morning and you're going to be paying attention to your body and paying attention to see how the energy is moving through your body. How do I feel right now?
Yes.
Build a relationship with your body.
And you want to know how this is so key? Because we have 7 people on this live, right? Well, I mean, 7 participants, right?
And I noticed that from the beginning,
And 7 is the number of completion.
Wow.
Okay? Completion on so many levels.
So many levels.
So if you all really take in this information and you do your own study to where you have your own understanding, understanding, and overstanding. And just real quick for those who may not know, because I know we're recording this and we may at some point put this out, but as far as understanding, that's just you seeing it and knowing it. But having an understanding is just knowing it within yourself. There's an experience that you went through and now you understand it. But when you get to the part where you overstand it, that's when you can take the eagle-eye view. And this is once again where you can step outside of those belief systems. You can step outside of that circle and see all aspects of yourself. That's the overstanding. So once you're able to pull all of this in and have that overstanding of everything,
man, you're on fire. Once you're able to become the watcher of self, become that watcher. Like, start watching yourself. Because so much times we're just going through stuff and we thinking that I'm my emotion, I'm my body, I'm my mind, and you're just so connected with these things that you lose focus. But sometimes you just have to be, and that's why it's so important to be in the moment and be present and learn to be the observer of self. Learn to watch your behavior. Learn to watch the emotions and see how they're affecting you. And then once you're in that phase and you're able to respond, now you're giving yourself those options. Now you're the one that's turning up the temperament and turning it down. So you're conscious of what you're doing. So nobody can just come by you and just turn your oven up and just walk off and you on fire. You have control of that fire element. So you're going to know, okay, no, me and fire got a great relationship. Fire like me and I like fire. So no, Tyrone, you're not going to turn up my oven today.
Right.
So you feel so empowered. Like when you really start watching yourself and becoming a watcher of self, it gives you a certain type of empowerment, and you show up different in the world now. Now you're showing up different. Now you're having that God or goddess vibration and energy, and people would feel it. They would feel it. Like literally, we went to what's that, Target. What was it, a couple days ago? Yesterday. We walking through, we got our shirt on, I'm hugging him, he's hugging me. We walking through the store, we smiling, we looking crazy because we the only ones who don't got no mask on. And they just thinking we about to die tomorrow because we ain't got no mask and gloves on.
But we walk around smiling. And one guy was like, who are y'all? What's going on with this twin flame? Like he looked like, what's this twin flame thing? Like,
That's us. That's us. It was so many other people in the store, but he stopped us. I guess he forgot about his social distancing with his mask on, and he just was so engulfed with us and just wanting to just have a conversation. But he felt something. It was something that he felt that drew him in, that made him forget about his social distancing, which is good. So being on that different frequency. It's a beautiful thing, man. Yeah,
it really is. And we're not gonna lie and say that it's not challenging, because it is challenging. It's very challenging. It's always a constant reminder of being present. But once again, it's just any muscle as you and I know Sherry knows this.
Sherry knows this.
The more you work out, the easier it gets.
Lifting 100 pounds, you start out with 5 and you're struggling. Now you with 100 like this, bam, bam. It's the same thing.
So the more you practice it, because in order to master these elements and to really master self, you got to have discipline. And discipline oh my gosh, discipline and consistency. Oh my God. Those are the You should have added in and said that there was 7 hindrances. Actually, no, they did cover that.
They kind of did, yeah. The laziness part.
Yeah, the laziness.
Yeah.
Because you have to be consistent and you have to be disciplined.
Yes.
If you can be consistent and disciplined and really mastering these things, once again, unstoppable.
That's one of the biggest hurdles. You see, this is why the Kabbalists and the Illuminati is so successful at what they do, because they have mastered consistency. They are very consistent in what they do. And consistency is a recipe to any type of, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be trying to be an idiot. As long as you're consistent at being an idiot, you would make it. It don't matter what you're trying to do.
And you know what? And that explains how people with no college education become millionaires.
They're consistent.
Because if anything, they know how to be consistent and they know how to be disciplined, which is something they don't teach in school. So
I don't know why. I don't know why. Well, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we know why.
Everybody here know why.
But yeah, but we're not gonna hold y'all too much longer. Hopefully, I can get this class thing done in a little bit.
Me too. I got some schoolwork to do. Guys, we don't really sleep that much sometimes.
No, we don't. We really don't. But does anybody have any questions or any last statements before we head out?
That's it. Okay, y'all ready to go to sleep now?